It's time for the RPM Podcast, starring Scott Riggleman.
He's not afraid to stick it in.
Tim Riggleman.
I just couldn't suck up to him.
And Josh Matthews.
He's not going to go ramming into somebody.
And here we are again, episode 194 of the RPM Podcast. It is Tuesday night at 7:32 p.m., July 13th, 2021. I'm Scott Riggleman, your host down in Manchester, New Jersey. My brother Tim Riggleman, America's Spotter, is up in Farmingdale, New Jersey. Tim, how are you?
I'm good, ready to go.
And, of course, we got Josh Matthews. Me and my brother were ready and on time on Monday night, but Josh was feeling a little under the weather last night, so we couldn't do it Monday night, and then pushed us to Tuesday night. Josh, are you feeling any better?
I'm feeling much better. It was so much cooler out today to work. I feel way better than I did yesterday. So
it was still muggy out today, though.
Oh, no, it was humid, but I wasn't melting and dripping immediately like I was yesterday as soon as I stepped foot in the sun, under the sun.
I tell you what, that's I don't deal with the heat as good as I used to either. When I lost all this weight, I started loving the heat again. But I tell you what, it's not that I don't deal with the heat that well. I actually do very well in the heat, even when it's 100 degrees out. But by 5, I start my day at 7 a.m. By 5 p.m., man, I'm ready for bed. I come in from towing, and that air conditioner hits me. It makes it real hard to go out into the garage and work on a race car, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, that kind of happened last night. I think I got a beer or two in, went to the bathroom, and then I was out cold on the couch.
They're the best sleeps, aren't they?
I woke up, I still had my boots on. So I'm like, what the hell?
But then you wake up like 2 in the morning, and then you can't go back to sleep, so the next day you're wiped out again anyway.
Many times, yes. Last night, no. I woke up, took my boots off, took a leak, and I was right back out. So it was good. It worked out better, so I have a lot more energy for tonight.
All right, guys, real quick, I just want to thank our sponsor, our big-time sponsor, Caton MMA. Nick's a feature winner now. I don't know if we can call him an MMA fighter now. Now he's a feature winner, so now it might be Nick Caton the racer.
Don't you hate it when people just become champions in like everything?
So Nick Caton the racer actually owns a gym. I don't know why he owns a gym. He's a race car guy, but yeah, Nick Caton the racer owns Nick Caton's MMA. It's boxing, jiu-jitsu, cardio boxing, Muay Thai, MMA, and more.
And stock car racing.
And stock car racing. He's going to have to put like a garage right in his gym now. Just pull the race car right inside. So, yeah, if you want to get in shape, learn how to fight a little bit, he does all sorts of stuff over there.
Who was it that had the steering wheel with the
weights on it?
The weights or the shocks? You'd have to work. Who was that?
I don't know, but I seen one with lights too, Josh. And like when the lights shine, that's the way you turn, and it builds up your arms. I think, didn't Tiffany have that set up?
I know Rob talked about it or something. I'm trying to remember, but I know that like one of the NASCAR guys had it at one point. That could be a new piece of gym equipment that Nick puts in and just.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to learn how to, if you want to join a gym and get in shape and learn how to fight, give Nick a call. He's over on 781 Brick Boulevard in Brick, New Jersey. I'm sure he's got his shiny trophy sitting right in the walkway there when you come in on the desk there. Give Nick a call, 732-458-0133. Tell him the RPM podcast sent you. We'll be talking a little bit more about Nick a little later in the show and his big win. He definitely deserved it. He ran a great race. He's been working very hard. And it was one of those races, Josh, where everybody was happy that he won after the race. Like everybody congratulated him. Like, we knew it was coming and it finally happened Saturday night. So that's great. We'll be talking about that a little bit more in the show. All right, so Wall Stadium this weekend. I was there. My brother was there. The weather wasn't beautiful, but it actually turned out to be a nice night of racing over there. The crowd was great. Car counts were up in all the division. Really, all the car counts were good. Full field of modifieds. Josh, they were on that bubble. They advertised 24 cars to start, and there was exactly 24 there. And I heard them talking. Well, what if somebody else shows up? And you know what I said?
Take them all.
Start them all.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, but we advertised 24. So what? Who's going to complain that you had one car? You know what I'm saying? The crowd ain't going to complain. The racers could complain, no, we're only racing against 24. It's not fair over 25 or 26. Trust me, they're not going to complain. If you got 25 or 26 cars, you start them all.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It was a 100-lapper. It was called the Summer Scorcher. No tire change, though, right, Tim?
No, none at all.
Are there any tires available in the state to change?
Well, it was always advertised as a 100-lapper. Basically, the 125 lappers are the tire change races. If you conserve your tires, it's actually I kind of like the 100-lap distance and no tire change. Number one, they don't have to set the pits up different, Josh, and I'm able to park in my normal spot. You know, and it made for different strategies. It was pretty cool at the beginning. We're kind of jumping ahead here because the legend cars did race first, and then the 4-cylinders and the modifieds. But I think we should just go ahead and do the modifieds right now because that's what we're talking about. It kind of made for different tactics on the track. Some people want to take off while the tires were good and get a little ahead and then back up a little bit. It was real cool watching Jimmy. Tim, did you notice? I know you were spotting for Anthony Cecily this week, but I don't know if you noticed Jimmy. Jimmy carved through that field like I've never seen a guy carve through a field. And Andrew had already got out front. And Jimmy got to second place and then pretty much stopped.
He pretty much put it in second gear and rode around here.
Yeah, and he backed the whole field up, and everybody was just following Jimmy conserving their tires. And they were watching Andrew pull away, hoping he's going to burn his stuff up,
Yeah, but I mean,
cool to watch.
I think at that point, especially once Andrew, once you get a gap, you're going to relax a little bit and just conserve.
But I'm telling you, he didn't know how much Jimmy was slowing the whole field up, and Andrew was still going a pretty good pace in front of those guys. It was just funny to watch. It was something I wouldn't say I never saw before, but it's something I haven't seen in a while. First of all, see Jimmy carve through the field like that and pass. Josh, it was amazing. He was just high, low, and he just weaved his way through the field like it was nothing. As soon as he got to second, he saw Andrew was, half a track ahead. So he's like, well, I'll let Andrew burn stuff. I'm just going to stop. And everybody just followed Jimmy. It was crazy.
If nothing else, I mean, you just wait for a caution. I mean, that'll make up the gap.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Jimmy had a great game plan, and it almost worked on him, but Andrew still had enough left at the end of the race to hold him off. It was one of those races where it kind of went caution-free for a very long time. And then, like we always say, Josh, cautions breed cautions. Towards the end of the race, they just kept coming, man. Like, I got in and out of my car 3 times because we were in the staging area up there waiting to go out on the track.
Yeah, don't miss that.
Yeah.
It was a big oil, too. Some weak oil or something, too. Right?
Oh, it wasn't even a quick, easy cleanup.
No.
No, they had the tires out there the whole 9 yards. So. It was a good race. Andrew also carved through the field too to get.
Yeah.
Where did he start? Like 8th or something?
I think there was an invert.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was a 10-car invert, right, Tim?
Yeah. Cecily finally qualified good, qualified second fastest, and they invert the field.
I tell you what, Anthony looked real good at the beginning of the race, but I had to go back to my car, after lap 50, so I didn't get to see what was going on with Anthony after the.
All said and done, one of the tires didn't do what it was supposed to.
Okay.
It didn't grow or shrink or whatever it was supposed to do. But when Jimmy was just riding, Anthony was just riding too. Mm-hmm. And then as the race went on, I actually think Andrew was definitely faster than Jimmy, and he also could choose the outside. Well, Andrew's car comes up off the corner really well on the outside. But if you notice, Andrew would get ahead of him, and then after about 4 or 5 laps, Jimmy would slowly creep back in on him. I think if it would have went more yellow in the beginning of the race and more green towards the end, Jimmy needed more of a longer car run at the end than a short run car, Other than that, Andrew just pulled away from him.
And I tell you what, I thought it was pretty clean racing with them 2 up front. I mean, Jimmy gave it his all for a couple laps to try to make the bottom side work and get past him. I mean, they banged wheels a little bit, but for the most part, Andrew gave him room and Jimmy gave Andrew room. There was a couple times I even seen Jimmy come off and he got into Andrew a little bit coming off the corner, but he would jerk the car back to the left. You know what I'm saying?
That one time, it looked like he almost let up to give it back to him. That one time they got together, and Jimmy didn't push the issue.
It was almost like when the green flag came out, Jimmy would give it his best shot for a lap or 2, and then when he realized that it wasn't going to work, he would fall back in line and save his tires again in case there was another restart come. I tell you what, Jimmy, for the car Jimmy had and for not being there all year, he ran a very smart race. He definitely gave it his all, and he knew Andrew. He could tell Andrew how a little bit more, so he was playing a chess game. All right, I'll give it my shot here, and I'll let the tires cool off and try again. Like he ran a really good race.
I mean, yeah, for not being there all year long, because Andrew did win. Andrew had a 7-car length lead over Jimmy, and then Jimmy had a 7-car length lead over third. So
right,
they were, for never being there for the year, that was good. It's funny, when you sit in the same spot. I know the guy to the left of me, he's a Stephen Reed fan. I know the guy who sits in front of me, he likes Jimmy Blewett. This guy over here wants anybody to win but Jimmy Blewett. You know what I mean? And then there's guys that like Grouses. It was funny that it really, I guess you call them fair weather fans or call them whatever you want, but I've seen people that I've seen boo Jimmy and John Blewett for 15, 20 years where we're cheering the hell out of to see Jimmy Blewett beat.
Well, yeah, now Andrew's the big winner, and now they want to see Andrew get beat. And they know with Jimmy being there, that's a good chance. Someone's going to beat Andrew,
It's like people, like I said, that I've seen for 5 years, boo Jimmy Blewett. Now, come on, Jimmy. I'm like, oh, my God.
It just goes with Kyle Busch. He says people don't like seeing the same person win all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's funny.
And they want to get their money's worth. They want to see something different happen. They paid $22 to get in to watch the races or whatever it is the cost to get in the grandstands. And
I also, where we see, I've been telling you all year long that it's all been like new faces. All the old faces were back last night. Saturday night. All the old people.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Everybody that you've seen, that you and me grown up see every week, they're all back. They were used to work at the junkyard with me, like Kurt, the parts guy.
Yeah.
He used to work at Osborne's before it was Grandpa bought it. He actually, him and his wife actually came. That's the first time he's been to the races in 15 years. He came to watch Jimmy race, and there were a lot.
Jimmy brings a crowd. I'll say that. He does bring a crowd.
There were a lot of 76 and 51 shirts in the grandstand Saturday. I'll say that much.
Well, I mean, people have been talking about labor shortages and tire shortages and everything. Well, there must have been a spotter shortage too, Tim, because I pulled in the pits. I didn't even get out of my truck yet, and Jimmy Blewett's over there asking me if I'll spot for him that night.
Well, if Jimmy Blewett would have answered his phone on Monday, he would have had a spotter. Guess what? Anthony Cecily answered his phone on Tuesday, and he had a spotter. So,
but to tell you the truth, I don't think Jimmy even thought about racing Wall Stadium until Wednesday. I don't think he was even sure what he was doing.
He told me he didn't know till Thursday.
Yeah. And he actually texted me Friday night. Josh, he was texting me Friday night asking if I would spot, but I was honestly too afraid to text at the time because on Friday night I was in South Philly trying to find a car on the side of the road.
Oh, Jesus.
That someone wrecked and just parked there at 9 a.m. and just gave me this random address, and I was in some bad part of the town, and I was totally focused on the work I was doing. And then I'm like, well, by the time I got out of Philly, I'm like, I'll just see Jimmy at the track on Saturday.
Scott had his Glock ready.
I was there. Speaking about spotters, I was surprised that Andrew had his tour spotter came down actually to Mike Murray was there. Very well-known spotter.
Yeah, and I told Jimmy I would do it, but I really didn't want to do it because our race was right after Jimmy's. And then I guess Waterford got canceled, and Jimmy had his modified tours spotter come down. I guess he had a gig to do at Waterford, but when that got canceled, it freed him up, and he actually drove all the way down the wall and spotted for Jimmy.
It's a good kid.
Yeah. All right. Another cool thing I saw during the race at the drivers' meeting, this is so everybody knows, they went over what they're doing about when the yellow comes out, who keeps their spot and who doesn't. Basically, they say if you stop on the racetrack and it's a total emergency where you just stop so you didn't hit someone in the driver's door and you didn't make contact, they'll let you keep going. They'll give you your spot back when the yellow comes out. And they said if there's a spin or something, and
so
as long as you keep...
That means you can stop? Is that what you're saying?
You can stop as long as you don't make contact. You know what I'm saying, Tim? Say if someone's sideways and you stop at 3 inches from their Nerf bar and you stop so you didn't drive through their door, you can go and get your spot back. But if you make contact, you're part of the accident.
Let's say you stop in front of you, and here comes some guy that has from behind you taps you behind, then you're in the accident, correct?
I'm not really sure because I don't know if you noticed what Stephen Reed did. He spun and backed the car to the fence, but Josh, it was the coolest thing I ever seen. He backed that car to the fence so hard, but the car never stopped. He just jammed it in gear and went forward. Like he just got going again, you know, like,
he bounced it right off and kept, yeah.
Oh, right off. Like a ping pong ball. Like his back bumper hit the wall and he just went forward, never stopped.
Wow.
And there was another car in that wreck that did stop. So technically Steven never stopped and he got his spot back, you know?
No, I believe by the laws of physics, he technically stopped for that.
I'm telling you, that car never
second.
stopped. It just went the other way, Josh. It looked like a Super Bowl when you were a kid and bouncing it off the wall.
Well, I just mean at some point, going from negative velocity to positive velocity, at some point you have to hit zero.
Not by the naked eye, you couldn't see it, Josh, that's for sure. It was pretty amazing what he did because he backed in pretty hard. And for him just to bounce right off the wall and go forward and right down the back straightaway like it never happened. It was pretty funny to watch.
Wow. Unless he was also had a sideways component, then he might be okay. If he was still sliding.
So we did have a good car count there with 24 modifieds. There was a few faces we haven't seen in a while. Adam LaCicero was back. Jason Hearn was back. The guy from Long Island, Tim, the 34 car.
Richie Cooper?
No, not Richie Cooper. He's raced street stocks with us, Tim.
Matlack?
Yeah, Kenny Matlack. He was back. It was good to see him back. So there were some new faces. And Richie Cooper was there too as well. So it was a great field. Chrissy Reynolds was another one that was back. It was good to see Chrissy Reynolds back.
Yeah, good to see him back.
The reason Chrissy hasn't been racing, he's the number 45 modified. Beautiful race car, too. That's an old Dick Bernier Raceworks that he redid. It came out really nice. Chrissy was buying a house, and he finally got that deal all done. He's got his house all caught up, and, you know, the deal's done, and he moved in and all that stuff. And so he was able to come back racing. It was good to see him back. So, yeah, there was a good field of cars. Anything interesting you want to talk about in the race, Tim?
Jimmy Blue did win like I predicted.
But I mean, he had it was an enjoyable race. I mean, Jimmy finished second.
I don't have any complaints about any of it.
Tyler Truex had a good run going. He was running right with Jimmy and Andrew there for a while. It was good to see him back running good because he's been having a lot of motor problem issues, and he finally seems like he got that all fixed, and he's back running good. So that's good to see.
All kidding aside, I think not to bust his balls or your balls, but Stephen Reed's been a little off the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, but he finished fourth though, I think.
Let me finish it. He's been like where he's surviving and he keeps coming back to finish a good race. He just seems to be a little off for some reason.
Yeah, he seems like he's on the next tier. You know, he's not the top tier like he normally is. It seems like he's a step or two behind. But he still manages good finishes, top fives and stuff.
Yeah, he is. He's doing really well with that.
One guy who was missing, Tim, was Chris Andretta. If you notice, Chris Andretta wasn't there with his modified. They said he was sick. They said he was under the weather, wasn't feeling well, so they didn't bring the ar. So that would have been the 25th car, Josh.
Yeah. and it should have started.
Got to let him race. They sponsor half the cars there.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that I don't know if it was a reason or not. I didn't see. Maybe there was. We all expected Kyle Cisco to do a little better than he did.
He got a flat early in the race, and by having a flat, you're not allowed to put a new tire on. You had to put a used tire on. Yeah. So that might have got him behind the ball in the tire situation. And another thing that was announced at the drivers' meeting, and it was Kyle Cisco and his father Brian that were disagreeing with the rule. Even though you weren't allowed new tires, you weren't allowed to swap tires either, Tim. They said Doug Kobe won a race there doing that.
Oh, yeah. They love swapping tires up in Connecticut. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Cisco's must have had a plan. They were going to, move the rear tires to the front and the front tires to the rear. That's another way you get a little bit, because the rear tires wear out more than the fronts because that's where the power's at. And they ixnayed that too. They didn't want anybody doing that too. So when Kyle got a flat early in the race, he had to put an old tire on. He couldn't move his right front to the right rear or whatever, and it put him behind.
Huh? Yeah.
That's a beautiful race car too. Tim, you ever look at that car? It's just so clean and so nice, so well prepared. The Cisco's really built beautiful race cars.
No, I never saw it up close. I don't go.
And that's a different chassis too. They use a PSR chassis, built down in North Carolina, so it's not your traditional Troy or Fury or LFR that these guys run.
It's one of those tomato chassis, right?
Well, it's the PSR chassis. Jamie has the Jet 08, but I'm pretty sure they're built out of the same shop. But the PSR is a little bit different than the Jet 08. The Jet 08 is basically a 2008 Troyer copy, where the PSRs, got some of their own technology on the chassis.
Josh,
I'm not here.
Josh, Jamie Tomato won the 1990 Modified Tour Championship. You do know that, right?
He didn't win a feature that year, though, did he?
Yeah, he won one.
He did win one race that year? I thought he was the only one that won a championship without winning a race.
I think it was Star or one of them weird tracks.
Yeah. All right, Josh, you have the results for the modified race? It was called the Summer Scorcher, too. Was it the Summer Scorcher? Yeah. I like that.
Well, I remember they called it the Sizzler one year, right?
Yeah, it was the Summer Scorcher 100. I kind of like that name.
It should have been the Sizzler because all the wires were burned up all over.
We'll get to that because I haven't done my race.
I just wanted to, before we got started, we get right out of the gate here. I wanted to say, like, Scott, you always ask me how it was in the grass. It felt like, for some reason, there was another pun. There was electric in the air. It felt like you walked into, like, you feel like when you're a kid and you walk into the Monmouth County Fair for the first time. Mm-hmm. That's what it felt like. There was a lot of kids running around, and it was fun. They were giving out those light wands that you like to see in the grandstand.
Yeah.
Oh, those are cool. Yeah.
It was fun. It wasn't too bad in the grandstand. It was pretty nice, and they also have they made a sweet shop out of the old photo booth. They sell like cupcakes and brownies and cookies.
Hope they sell milk.
That's the same exact thing that I asked. They have a milk machine in there. All right,
yeah. So this was the Summer Thunder 100, as Jeff Gravatt initially posted on the message board, and I called him out on that as well.
Oh, the Thunder? It said Thunder?
Yeah, it wasn't Thunder. It was Thunder.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking at the results that Jeff Gravatt posted on the message board, and it's the Mdofoed feature. MDOFOED feature. Whatever that is. So maybe he was into that Parrot Bay a little too early. Anyway, I got a tease.
What was it called? The Summer Thunder. What was it called, Josh?
The Summer Thunder.
Summer Thunder 100?
Yes.
I like it.
No, I think it's a cool name when it's spelled right. Mm-hmm. So Andrew Krause, as we said, won, followed by Jamie Blewett, Eddie McCarthy, Stephen Reed, Blake Barney, Tyler Truex, Jonathan Mandato, Kyle Sisko, Tommy Martino, and Joey Merlino. That was your top 10.
It was a good run for Eddie McCarthy. I was happy to finally see him get a good finish. He always runs, but always seems like something gets caught up in some type of wreck at the end of the race. And he finally put the whole 100 laps together, and it was a good run for Eddie McCarthy. It was good to see. And the race paid $5,000 to win. That's a nice payday for a 100-lapper at Wall Stadium.
Yeah,
I mean, that's real money, Josh. I'm glad to see that the track can afford to pay a good modified purse like that. And during the drivers' meeting, Emily thanked all the drivers for being there. She's like, our car counts are great, and I thank you for choosing Wall Stadium as your place to race. So, they put up a good purse and they got a good car count.
I mean, no matter what, it's a cool track.
And you know what? Because it was a 100-lapper and not a 125-lapper, and it was a non-tire change race, a smaller budget team like a Chrissy Rounds could be like, all right, I buy 4 tires, I qualify on them, and I run the feature. I don't have to worry about buying 6 tires or 8 tires or whatever. You got to put an old tire on anyway. So,
yeah, that upfront.
Buy 4 tires, you go race a 100-lap modified race at Wall Stadium. I think that's a pretty good deal.
Was that a no tire change rule? Because it was a no tire change rule, or was it a no tire change rule because of the
shortage?
Tire shortage. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that the tire shortage. I mean, if you look all over everywhere, they're shortening races up for that reason. I don't know if this was always planned a 100-lapper or 125-lapper, but it might have been. I don't know. But yeah, the tire shortage has finally hit Wall Stadium. We were doing pretty good with it. As a matter of fact, if you want to talk about it now, the Johnny Gasco factory stock race, the 94 lapper that was supposed to be July 24th, is now postponed to August 21st. And the reason why is Emily was saying at the drivers' meeting, we have a one tire rule, Josh. We can only buy one tire a week, and she has enough tires for, say, like 20 cars. Like, she might have 40 or 50 tires. So if we all show up and buy one tire, she's good for the next 2 races. If it was 100 lappers, she'd have to let us buy more than one tire. So she said that Hoosier is telling her that she'll have another batch of R-type Hoosier tires, which are the 850s. She'll have them by the Wednesday before August 21st. So that's why she made the 100 lapper then. Okay. We're off this weekend. Just to let everybody know, the factory stocks are off this weekend. Then we race July 24th.
And the modifieds, right?
They're off too?
That's what I was told. Is that true?
Yeah, probably.
Yes, can you look that up?
I will add that. Yeah, we'll look that up. I was going to save that for when we get to the end. But anyway, continue talking while I look that up.
The tire shortage finally did hit Wall Stadium. But as of right now, they are moving a few things around, and one of the things that they didn't move around was our Johnny Gasco Memorial Race. She's going to try to have it August 21st and not July 24th.
Cal City still in business?
But you know what? Someone said that, we'll just go back to DOT tires. The problem is, I love DOT tires. I got a bunch for my Enduro cars. I'd be fine with it. But the problem is, when we switched to the Hoosier tires, we had to change the gears because the tires were so much different, and we had to change all not shocks, but springs and gear ratios. So to go back to DOT tires, it's not as easy as just switching the tires, because the Hoosier tires we run are a lot taller than the DOT tires. So it was a whole gear change we had to do. And there were different sidewalls. There were a race tire compared to a steel belted radial DOT tire. So we all, I went stiffer with my springs. So it's not as easy as people think to go back to a DOT tire. Yeah. And I tell you what, right now, it's not easy getting DOT tires either. And they're expensive because I run the Cooper Cobras on my Enduro cars, and they used to be like $90. They're up to like almost $130 a piece now.
Yeah, I miss them though because they didn't puncture.
They did last forever. They did last forever.
I
tell you what though, Josh, these Hoosier tires we were on though, it's a pretty good tire. They're a pretty good tire to race on too.
I know, but I mean, like,
a long time.
Like me, as long as I didn't get a puncture, I was probably good for the season. Maybe you can get through a season on 1 or 2 sets. The Hoosiers, I mean, they're good and all, but they don't last that long.
Right.
I did want to say,
and they do puncture easier than a DOT tire because they're a thinner rubber and sidewall and everything like that. Where the DOT tires, you basically used them as a Nerf bar. They were so strong. The sidewalls were so strong on them.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I cut a tire down. I just knocked the valve stem out.
Right.
Like that went before the tire went. It was
Sometimes you bent the rim and didn't get a flat tire. Yeah. Those tires were so strong.
I ran over my own bumper and didn't get a flat. So anyway, so Tim, yes, you were right. The modifieds are off next week, along with the factory.
There'll be nobody in the grandstands.
Well, what's there to replace it? What is racing next week, Josh?
Well, it's a family fun night. $10 to get in. So you're going to have $10 entry fee. Sportsmen, Fast Fours, Legends, Late Models, TQs, and they have a 4-cylinder and 8-cylinder demolition derby.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you should. I mean, I think the factory should be on those nights, but I mean, they got to have a night off too. So, but yeah, that's going to be that should be a good race or a good night. And the 4-cylinder drivers will be signing autographs at intermission.
Okay. Let's go back to the first feature of the night, which was the Legend Car division.
Did you do the top 10? You did the top 10.
Yeah, he did the top 10.
What top 10?
The Legend Car feature, I didn't get a chance to watch. Tim, were you able to watch that race? I know. I'm pretty sure Mason McGee won. He's the guy who says. Oh no, it wasn't. I think it was Josh who won that race. Was Mike Alcala? Yeah. And I tell you what, when that guy shows up, everybody knows it's going to be a tough night. I even hear the buzz around the pits are like, Mike Alcala's here tonight. basically were racing for second. That guy's super good in the legend cars. He goes all over and wins. How many cars did they have, Josh?
They had 10.
10. And I heard they're ironically, the legend cars just switched from DOT tires to Hoosiers, and I heard they're having trouble getting Hoosier tires too as well. So that might be another reason why
bad time to switch.
Yeah, it really was.
Switch.
Is the problem material or labor?
It's the perfect storm. Workforce. They don't have the manpower, and they can't get the material quick enough. Like it's not just one thing.
Look, Tim, everything's in a shortage.
And it's just not Hoosier either. It's American racers as well. I'm starting to see tracks now that have American racer tires, and they're like letting you run any compound you can get your hands on now and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is it New Egypt? Aren't they American racer?
I really don't know.
All I know is New Egypt posted this afternoon that they canceled their Summer Sizzler race because of the tire shortage.
Right.
Or they canceled or postponed.
I feel so bad for tracks, man. Like COVID's over, the place people are willing to go out and watch racing, and now they can't get tires. It's like they get beat up pretty bad.
Yeah.
All right, Josh. I didn't get to see the legend car race, so I apologize. I don't have much to say about that. Josh, if you want to give us the top 10 with the legend cars,
sure. Mike Alcaro, Quinn Trimmer, as we've talked a lot about lately.
He's going to be a guest on the RPM podcast real soon.
Yeah. Once he gets that win, stop finishing in second. No, I'm kidding. Then Mason McGee, Malcolm Campbell, Colin Milroy, Phil Bogdan, Justin Emmons, Eddie Idek, Matt Verlangeri, and Joe Parker.
Wow, it's all different names too.
Yeah, I mean some of them. Malcolm Campbell's been there a while. Mason McGee, either, but there's been a few newer names. Yeah.
Not only is there a tire shortage, there's a national ketchup packet shortage going on.
Don't remind me. Don't remind me. I'd get too upset.
Well, that's a leftover from COVID because when you would go to the restaurant, they wouldn't give you the bottle of ketchup because everybody had their hands on it. They were serving packets of ketchup.
Yep.
I got to complain about ketchup packets. I know some places have them, but not enough. I always said McDonald's should have ketchup in the same type of package that they have the sweet and sour and the hot mustards in.
Oh, they do make those.
But it's weird. It's also got like a corner you can peel off and still use it as like the squirter. They should just put ketchup in the regular sweet and sour McDonald's packets because everybody dips their fries anyway. They have mustard in it. Why don't they have ketchup in packs like that?
I remember at one of the on track parties, I gave, instead of all the other drivers gave out candy, I gave out those type of ketchup packets. It's a little harder plastic base with the foil top, and it had like a little spout on the end, so you could still yeah.
So it wasn't quite like that.
To answer your question, Scott, it's probably the simple fact that McDonald's probably owns the patent on that type of container, and they probably use Heinz ketchup, and they don't put Heinz ketchup. Probably doesn't have that.
McDonald's can put their own ketchup in it. If they own the patent to that container, they can put any type of ketchup they want in it. I don't know. My brother used to do something weird when he ate French fries as a kid. He would rip the corner off the ketchup pack. He would put the fries in his mouth and then like squirt the ketchup in his mouth because he said it was the best way not to get ketchup on your fingers. That's how he ate French fries.
Yeah, you prefer it all over your face instead. Okay. I used to dip my French fries in honey.
Oh, I love honey. Well, not anymore because honey's got so much sugar. But man, I used to put honey on everything. Man.
Yeah,
chicken nuggets. Honey was my go-to thing when I wanted to make that.
Ever put it on a bagel?
Really?
A little bit of honey on a bagel. Ooh, yeah. No, it's good. I mean, you're talking a lot of carbs and a lot of sugar there, but it's good. Anyway,
all right. So the next down the hill were the Fast Fours, the four-cylinder division. They had a great turnout too. They had a great car count. It was a very enjoyable race. And they went caution free too, right, Tim? I don't think there was any cautions in that race.
If there was one quick one. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. The night was going by fast, Josh. Like the legend cars ran a quick race, the four cylinders ran a quick race, and then the wheels fell off when it got to like around lap 75 of the modified race, and then we had all sorts of troubles.
It's all right. The truck series had the same problem.
Oh, but that race was horrible. But yeah, the four-cylinder race was it was good. Some people don't like when that happens, but the whole race ran nonstop green flag, And it got spread out. It got spread out to the point where it was hard to know who was leading, who was second, who was third. But sometimes I like races like that because now everybody's weaving in and out of the lap traffic, and it was actually good racing. I'm pretty sure Neil Rutherford ended up driving his girlfriend's car. His girlfriend wasn't feeling well, Darianne, so Neil drove it. So I was watching that car, and Neil was coming through the pack pretty good, and that was fun to watch. He was making some pretty brave passes in lap traffic and making the moves work for him. That was interesting. I enjoyed the 4-cylinder race. Yeah, it might have been better if they had a caution late in the race to bunch it back up, but sometimes it's cool seeing the race go full green like that just to see what happens, you know. Tim, you got anything to say about the 4-cylinder race?
No.
My brother's not a big 4-cylinder fan, I guess, Josh. So go ahead and hit us with the top 10 of the 4-cylinder race, Josh.
Sure. Ryan Marr.
In a bar ride. Ryan Marr normally drives his own race car there, and he drove for Sal Liguori, the brand new car that Sal Liguori has that Ricky Williams built, and he smoked the field with that car. It was no contest.
Good. I mean, the fans love it. I mean, the 4-cylinders, I prefer the factory stocks, obviously, but the 4-cylinders are a good division to watch. I mean, they have some really good competition. Anyway, so then you had Mike Lavery working his way up, doing pretty well. That's second place for him. Then Ian Ashford.
He had a good race. He had a real good race.
Good. I mean, that's an old enduro driver from Evergreen and the Neats races and all that.
And he's one of those guys that comes to the racetrack by himself too. Like, I give people a lot of credit that do that.
So then we had Ian Ashford in third, Billy Prost, Alonso Morales, Neil Rutt III, Alex Grates, Sean Volksanic, Nicole Rosano, and Cody Critelli.
Yeah, it was a good race. It was exciting to watch, and it went by quick, and it moved us right onto the modifieds, which we did already. We already talked about the modified race. So that brings us up to the very popular factory stock division came down the hill, as Earl Krause would say. The factory stock division, as Earl Krause would say, the American Steel came down the hill. We had 21 cars, but there was an altercation in the heat race. And the number 3 car was parked for the night, and he had to leave. Him and Brian O'Shea got into it on the track. And when the 3 car was leaving the track, they were yelling at him on the receiver because I was the next heat race down, so I could hear it. And they were telling him, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And he decided to run in the back of Brian O'Shea anyway, and he got sent home for the night. They told him to load it up and go home.
Huh.
So that's got us down to 20 cars.
Speaking of heat race, Weber's kid won his heat race.
Oh, yeah, and speaking of heat races, Scott Riggleman won his.
Yeah. It was good to see Weber's kid.
Yeah, it was definitely cool to see. They've been having some mechanical problems, and they've been going through, their freshman year with him driving. And he's doing a great job driving. They were, they had transmission problems. He had power steering problems. Like they've been fighting some gremlins in that car, and they finally got it running really good. And they've been working real hard to get it there. And for him to win the heat race was pretty cool. And he had to beat Elliott Wall to do it, so it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy heat race for him. He ran a great race, and that did put him on the pole in the feature too. And he did start on the pole in the feature. My heat race was pretty cool too. I got to race side by side with Nick Caton, who eventually ended up winning the feature, and I was able to beat him, pass him on the last lap, and win the heat race. And if you watch the video I put up on YouTube, my hood pin broke off, and my hood was the right rear hood pin. And it was flapping pretty good. So here I am running side by side with Nick, and I can't really see him that good because my hood's sticking up about a foot, But I was still able to win that race, and that was a fun heat race racing with Nick. That moved us to the feature. Unfortunately, we had a bad wreck in our feature, and it was kind of like a double whammy because AJ Jackie, he has that beautiful red and black number 41 car. He's been running great this year. He still has it.
Yeah,
he's been running real well this year, and he's been fun to race with this year. It really has, and unfortunately, it looked like a right front hub broke on his car because he was running by himself, and coming out of turn 2, he just went straight in the wall full bore, and it was a hard hit, Josh. It was one of those hits where everybody in the grandstands got quiet, you know what I'm saying? And it did bring the red flag out. The red flag came out a little lazy, didn't it?
The flag groups weren't even watching. You could physically count 1, 2, 3, and then they threw the yellow or red. They didn't even know he hit the fence.
Yeah, because he was. I mean, there was a lot of side-by-side racing going on, and at the time that accident happened, he was running around by himself. So I can understand them not really watching that.
They're waiting for the cars to make contact with each other. Then,
Now I didn't have my. I didn't at that particular time. Obviously, I didn't have my scanner on. The tower could have been screaming yellow, 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 or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I tell you the truth, I didn't hear that, Tim. I did hear red, red, red when it finally did come out, but then going back and watching some of the YouTube videos, it looked like it was definitely. But then again, you can't watch the whole track the whole time. Yeah. There was a lot of side-by-side racing going on, and like I said, AJ was cruising by himself. He was like in one of those, soft pockets of the track where he didn't have anybody in front of him, he didn't have anybody behind him, and unfortunately, something broke on his car.
I did do my RPM podcast, and I called AJ to interview him, and he said he was coming out of the corner, and the car set just like he wanted to get out of the corner. He hit the gas, and the next thing he knew, he was in the fence. And he said he was sitting there he even asked me, he goes, did they throw the yellow or the red right away? Because there was cars going by me at 100 miles an hour. He was afraid he was going to get hit from behind.
So it sounds like the hub went.
Yeah, the hub broke.
Yeah, yep. That's what
he said. Hub rotor, on our cars, the hub and the rotor are the same thing.
He said he was sore, but okay.
That's good.
And Josh, it was one of those wrecks where he's kind of sitting away from the wall and he's sitting in the groove of the track, and you see the other cars coming, and you're just praying they see him. And that 23 car, Scott Parcell, he saw him the very last minute to the point where he had to cut the wheel to the left and spin into the infield. It's like one of those wrecks. You're like, don't hit him, don't hit him, don't hit him, don't hit him, and it's just a sigh of relief when the red finally comes out and everybody realizes there is a wreck and no one hit him, because it could have even been worse. You know what I'm saying?
I had a moment
it's one
like
of those
that.
situations. He's sitting there so long, and you're hoping he's not unbuckling yet either.
Oh yeah. I always wait. Unless there's a fire, you always wait. Yeah, always wait until all the cars are done. I had a moment like that. What was it? I think Vern spun during an enduro race, and that's green or red. So, and they're just going to give him time to get it, righted. And I was coming off of 2, and I was like, oh crap, there's a car there. And
I don't know. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
I locked him up, and luckily, got just down to the infield just in time. But yeah.
And sometimes when there's a bad wreck like AJ's wreck, there could be now water on the racetrack, and there was, So now that's another factor. If you're going a high rate of speed, now you're sliding on his water because his radiator got knocked out of his car. You know what I'm saying? It was a tough wreck, but it kind of happened at a good time because we were under red for AJ's wreck anyway, where they had to do some repair on the fence. They had a pretty extensive cleanup because the radiator got knocked out of his car. Josh, it was one of those hits when he hit the wall so hard, the dirt behind it came out on the racetrack.
Oh, yeah.
It loosened the dirt up, so they had a lot of sweeping up to do. As we're sitting on the track, I noticed the pits went dark. So they lost power in the pits. Tim, do you know what happened there?
I don't know exactly what caused the short, but it was to where the wires come out. They come out of the pits. They come out by the corner between the bathroom and the concession stand, and they run towards the office, above on top of the poles. And it looked like a cartoon. It looked like a fuse. All the wires were burning back towards the fuse box.
We could actually see that from the track. We could see the sparking from the track where we were.
It was probably there was probably a breaker that somebody had their air compressor or their air conditioner hooked, and it kept popping, and they probably stuck a penny in there, or a screwdriver in there to stop it from burning up. And,
and Josh, that's what I was about to say. These trailers are starting to get fancier and fancier, like Tim was saying. They're getting bigger and fancier, where they're putting bigger compressors in there to for air. Yeah. And I'm starting to notice now a lot of people are pulling in with trailers now with air conditioners. So it was a hot night. A lot of people might have had their air conditioners going, and just the old wiring at Wall Stadium might not be able to handle that much usage. And
I thought they were upgrading to the point where that.
Well, they are, but still, you get 20 trailers in there with air conditioners going at the same time, or someone tries to plug in a little welder or something like that, So then the track had a dilemma. We had power on the track. There was lights on in the track. They were talking about canceling our race. But we could see fine where we were at. All the safety lights were still working. The problem is, if Scott Rogan gets a flat, he needs to get in the pits, and now it's not safe for me to go in the pits. to get my tire changed. So they just came up with the solution right then and there, and I thought it was pretty quick thinking. They just told us all, hey, we're going to continue this race, but if you have to pit, you're done for the night. Agreed? That's what we're doing, It's either that or cancel the race. And I was fine with it, basically, because if you get a flat anyway, you're kind of done anyway, you know what I'm saying? So that was the deal. We'll continue the race. We'll finish this race. That happened around lap 10. So we still had 15 laps to go in our race. So basically, you had to run the rest of the race smart, not to rub up on somebody and get a flat tire and get calls to go in the pits. They told us all, so we all know the rule. We went racing, Tim, did you stay to the end, or did you leave after the power outage? Because it took a while for them to get
clean. Uncle Scott's racing more. Daddy's got to sit there till it's over.
That was the only bad thing. There was a great crowd there, and most of them did stay after the modified race when our race started.
I was actually impressed about as long as the modified race ran. I was very impressed how many people stayed to watch a factory stock race. Yeah,
but we did lose them after the AJ wreck and them losing the power.
Yeah,
but they did stay for the beginning of it though.
Right, and lap 10 we had that bad wreck, and we did lose our fans because they did pull us to the front straightaway, Josh, so they can clean the back straightaway up. And they told us it was going to be a long delay, so they told us we can Josh, it was one of those long delays where they let us shut the cars off and take our helmets off and everything down there. And Emily Krause came down with a case of Powerade, and she handed it to all the drivers in the cars and stuff like that. It was one of those type long delays, so awesome. That was very nice of her for thinking on a hot night, let me get these guys some Powerade down there. I did decline because I do bring a bottle of water in the car with me, and the Powerade she was handing out had sugar, so I couldn't drink it anyway. I did ask her if she had it sugar-free, and she's like, nope, this is all you get.
You should have told her, give mine to my brother up there in the
So, yeah, unfortunately, we had a long delay.
Before we get while we're talking about the delay, is there a rule? NASCAR, the rule is you do not unbuckle until safety crew gets to you, unless a fire.
I don't know if it's a rule, but that's pretty much common sense, right, Josh? If there's cars still whizzing by me, I'm leaving my helmet and safety belts on. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, sometimes you see people getting out before that.
I see it too often, and
too often they get out too. I don't even know how they get out of the car that quick. You know what I'm saying?
And here's the thing, and that doesn't apply to just racing. I mean, yeah, we're talking about racing, but what was it? There was I think it was it last winter? There was a pile up on some bridge, not somewhere in this area of Jersey, and an old woman got out of her car and then got hit by another car piling into the accident. Like, no, you just sit there. Just sit. It sucks. I'm sure it's upsetting and all, but you sit there until it's over.
Josh, people just get confused. I have it all the time. There's times like when they're broke down on the side of the road, and I go there to pick up their car on the side of like Route 37 or something, and they're so disheveled, and they're worried about what I'm going to charge them. They're worried about where we're going to take the car to. They're standing in the middle of the highway. I'm like, sir, you got to stand on the shoulder. You're going to get run over.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Just like that. What was it? What was it? 2-3 weekends ago, that guy was hit on the Parkway and killed.
Yeah,
his truck broke down. He was on the side.
I didn't see AJ get out of the car. By the time I got stopped, I didn't see him get out. Did he get out on his own power, Tim, or did they have to help him out of the car? Did he go in the ambulance, or I see the ambulance down there?
He got out, but he looked like he did staggered out of Woody's.
but you're confused. Like AJ was probably shook up because it was a hard hit. You're distraught because your car is destroyed. So now all these thoughts are going on.
He had enough nowhere about it in his mind that he was able to walk over and look at the car. He
right.
Did look at, yeah.
But then but you're saying he's disheveled. It's probably not from the hit. He's probably confused. Well, what happened? Why did I just wreck? There was nobody by me. It's a weird feeling. You got all these thoughts going through your head when that happens. It takes a minute to figure out what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
I get that.
And then you got 20 people coming up to you. You all right? You all right? Don't stand here. Don't stand there. Come here. Come. Yeah. You're also worried. How am I going to get this wrecked car on my race car trailer now to go home?
And it's just one of those hits where it knocked the air out of the whole place. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it did. It really did. It was scary. It was a scary wreck. Hopefully AJ can get it fixed. It looked pretty bad though. I mean, it definitely looks like it might need a clip or something. But he's been
need a clip and then some. I think just from the picture that I saw.
I know he was telling my brother one of the down bars in the front bent so bad it was into the valve cover. That's usually bad news.
And the distributor blew out of it.
And with our cars too, we have to run the stock cast iron crank in it. And those cast iron cranks, they're good. Don't get me wrong, but when they take a hit like that, they can crack very easily too. So you just don't know how much more damage is done than what you can see. There can be internal damage done to your engine. Who knows? It could break the fins off in the torque converter. Like, you just never know. When your car comes to a sudden stop like that, pretty much anything can happen. Who knows? I just hope AJ makes it back.
They got a good group of guys over there.
Yeah. If it's fixable, they'll get it fixed. I'm sure they have Timmy Steffen come over and look at it, see maybe if you can pull the frame straight. But he does have a week off, so we'll see if he can get it done in 2 weeks. If not, fix it right and come back and race when you're ready,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I swear.
Well, anyway.
Ever since ever since the cars switched the tires and then picked their speed back up, the wrecks have just gotten, harder. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think the lap times are much faster than what
No.
I don't remember.
I don't think the
we
lap
were turning
times
low
are
16s with the DOT tires too.
I ran a 15.8 with the DOT tires.
That's what I mean.
So I don't think that they're particularly faster. I don't think they stop as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think they stop as quick as they used to. And it's led to some really nasty. I mean, how many times did Dave Green total a car?
But he got a flat too, stuff breaks,
Yeah, it's just, bad luck happens. I mean, Tim Majek wrecked and destroyed a car how many times? And just...
Josh, when we were on DOT tires, man, there was cars getting destroyed all the time too. I'm not blaming this wreck on tires, that's for sure.
I don't know. It seems like there were more front ends getting destroyed. I don't know. It just seems weird.
All right, well, anyway, we had a very exciting finish of the race. Nick Caton, who's been trying very hard to win, finally got the win, and he earned it. It was very exciting. It really came down to a side-by-side battle on the last lap. They were side-by-side the last lap, and Nick was on the lower side. Elliott Wall got to his outside, and it came right down to the line. If you watch any of the videos, the crowd was going crazy. Everybody was standing up, and I think Elliott's transponder actually registered that he won first, but in the picture, you can totally tell that Nick's car was a good half a fender across the finish line before Elliott was. It was a very exciting finish. Nick is very much like Jimmy Blewett, where he brings a great crowd. Everybody wears his T-shirts in the grandstands. He's a very popular driver, and he finally got his first win, and everybody cheered him. And it was an emotional moment because he's been working very hard to get that win, and he finally got it. Tim, what did it feel like in the grandstands when Nick won that race?
Just like you said, it went crazy, and I don't think there wasn't anybody that wasn't cheering. How could you not? It was just a great race to begin with. And
selfishly, I'm happy Nick won, but in one breath, I'm not happy he won because Nick had he's been racing with the 602 crate motor option. And up until that point, I was the only one that won with the 602 crate option. So now we have two winners with the 602 crate motor, and Nick Caton joins the club with me as the 602 crate winner.
So do you think everybody can start switching now?
I'm telling you, they got it pretty even. No, I don't. And here's why. Because Elliott Wall and Brian O'Shea are still the fastest cars, and they're there with the built Martino type factory stock engine. On paper, the other package that the built factory stock motor with the 100-pound less is still faster than the crate motor with the extra 100 pounds.
Okay.
But now we got two winners. But you look at the lap time, Elliott's still faster than everybody. He definitely gets through the field better than us because he has 100 pounds. He's 100 pounds lighter. When we're out running side by side and out in the open.
He's not 100 pounds lighter.
The rule is 100 pounds lighter. But I think it's a great option, and I think they have it pretty even.
Elliott he can put that car wherever he wants it. Inside.
Elliott's car handles really well.
He runs so good that you can even see he can go down in the corner and roll off the throttle and get back on it and still go by the guy. Do you know what I mean?
he definitely goes in easier than everybody else, but he comes off harder. You know what I'm saying? Like he backs the corner up a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you roll off the throttle easier.
He's actually back on the throttle before the center of the corner. He makes the straightaways longer.
I don't know how hard he comes off the corner, but
he did not like the 15 minutes sitting in the infield because he said if he takes his helmet and seatbelts off, he's not getting them back on by himself. He just gave up and said, "I'm just going to sit here and sweat."
He take that extra bottle of sugar water. He
drank it down. Congratulations to Nick Caton on the win. It was great to see him happen. If Josh, you want to give us the top 10?
I would love to. I just need to bring that back up. Okay, so we had Nick Caton, Elliott Wall, Kevin Flores, Brian O'Shea.
Which is a great run for Kevin as well. Kevin had a great run too.
No, that was a very good run.
Yeah, his one's coming. And, I thought that maybe was going to be his night because he was starting third, and I looked at the starting lineup. I said, this could be Kevin's night. He's going to have a win coming. Because now what happens now, too? Now Nick won. Now he's thrown back with us in the handicap system. Now he can't start higher than 5th, and he's going to be up there in the handicap systems. Now he's going to be starting 9th or 10th with me and Elliott, and a guy like Kevin can still start in front of us. You know what I'm saying? That's how it works,
Yep.
I got you. So following Kevin Flores was Brian O'Shea, then some guy named Scott Riggleman, Gary Burton, Billy Both, Joey Hellberg, Tom Mrczkowski, and Robert Stack.
That's 3 guys right there that haven't been there all year. Billy Both had a wrist injury at the beginning of the year, so he was back racing. It was nice to see Billy Both back. Joey Hellberg, I think this was his first race this year, too. It was good to see Joey back in the beautiful white number 72 car that he races. He's been racing there for a very long time. And Robert Stack, he just started coming back, too. I think this was his first race of the year. I think he was there a couple weeks ago, but we rained out. And this was his first race of the year. So that's 3 names right there in the top 10 that haven't been there this year. I also want to say Gary Burton's been running great too, Tim. He's got that car going fast too.
He's hard to get by. He's hard
to pass, man. He's hard to pass. And that's where I lost a little bit. I was running right with Elliott and Brian O'Shea, but they were able to pass Gary Burton a little bit faster than I was, where it took me 3 or 4 laps to pass him on the outside. But me and him had a great race running side by side for a bunch of laps. He's one of those guys, he'll give you the outside, but he doesn't give you much of the outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to earn it up there. And once you get on the outside of him, he runs you hard, And he's fun to race with, though. I enjoyed it. And Tim, he's there now. I mean, we watched him go from 16.5s to 4s to 3s to 2s. In the heat race, he did a 16.079. And the best time of the night was a 16.015 by Elliott, and I did a 16.020. So he's there now. He's in the O's. He's there. He's a competitor.
What's your O face?
No, he hasn't gone across the scales yet. But I looked at that car. I think it's all legit.
I didn't say it wasn't. It's one of those.
Yeah, I know. But I know you do go across the scales. They might see a few things and make you change them, and then before you know it, you're struggling again. You know what I'm saying?
How many people were running aluminum pulleys until they suddenly
weren't? Exactly. But I mean, Gary's going to be starting up front too. I mean, he Tim, how cool would it be to see him win in that car?
That would be great.
It would be cool. I mean, he's another one that you can just see it's coming. He might on the right night he can get a win over there. Yeah. He starts on the pole. He's going to be tough to pass, and the race goes his way. He can win. I think that's the 2 guys that are they going to be the next first time winners. Not saying Gary's never won before, but for this year, I think Gary Burton has a shot, and I think Kevin Flores is on the list of kind of a win in the near future.
Do you have a program handy? He's probably got 20 wins, right? That guy. And
yeah,
people that don't know, that guy was the kingpin back in the day.
Street sucks. And with the same car. That car is very good. Gary Burton, 21 wins.
Yeah, I said 20.
He had 21 wins. He had 3 winning seasons. So he won 21 races in 3 seasons, Josh. And he got his first win on April 16th, 1988, and his last win on September 8th, 1990. So if he wins now, 90, so that would be 30. So that would be 10. 20.
31
years.
31
apart.
Years since, yeah.
Come on, Gary, you need to win. That has to be the longest stretch of
do you think we can
between wins?
Do you think we can fix
cool.
the race? Well, Rick.
And he's one of those guys. He raced, then he got married and had kids and stopped racing. Now his kids are all grown and out of the house. He came back racing. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, so he doesn't have anybody messing with the thermostat anymore, so he's saving the money.
He doesn't have to go to soccer games and stuff like that. He's back racing. It's cool to have him back. He's fun to race with. And that Robert Stack I think is his nephew.
I'm going to go tell Bryce that he's the reason I can't afford to race anymore.
Well, but exactly, Josh. That you're raising a son right now. 10 years from now, your car's still going to be sitting on your family farm over there. That'd be like your son Bryce turns 20 years old. He's off on his own now, doing his own thing. You're going to be like, it's time to go racing. That's exactly what Gary did. His car's been sitting there, and he rolled it back out and started racing it again. I think it's a pretty cool story.
Yes, so people don't know that if you laugh at that guy, he was one of the best out there.
I don't think anybody's laughing at him. I mean, he runs pretty good. It just where he looks different. He has a different car. We all are out there with the metric cars. He's out there with the bigger, older Chevelles. He's got a 74 year Chevelle.
So is that a B body?
I guess that would be a B body, right, Josh? Yeah, because we're G body, right? We're G bodies, right?
Yeah,
so
you guys are G. Yep.
Yeah, so I guess he would be a B. Yeah. I just call him the big car, little car. He's the American car. We're the metric car. Everything on his car, you can use a 9/16 wrench on. Everything on our cars was all metric. That's when they went to the metric.
Yeah, but I mean, try finding a sway bar for one of those. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of aftermarket,
He did tell me one of the reasons why his car is going better is he got he did get a new sway bar, and he got it from Steve Costello. Tim, remember Steve?
Okay.
Yep.
Steve ran the big cars too, and he said he ran into Steve somewhere. He's like, Gary, I got a bunch of parts laying around. I'm never going to use them again. Come get them. And one of them was a better sway bar, and he put the sway bar on. The car's been running a lot better.
And that car's wider too.
Those cars handle great. They're a great handle and race car. They are a better built front end geometry wise than what we run in the metric car. The downfall with those cars are they're heavier. Yeah. They're heavier than the metric cars. And in our division, we're only allowed to gut the car so much to get them. Like if it's a true street stock division, like when I went down to Florida, everybody ran the big cars down there, but they were allowed to gut the bodies and the floorboards and all that stuff to get the weight at them. Where we're restricted. So for Gary to get that car down to the $3,300 minimum weight, plus Gary's a good sized guy. He's not a little guy. He's a big guy. And so I'm sure he's running that car a little overweight as well. But it handles great. Those cars handle great. The motor's actually still a little further back in those cars too than the metric cars. Okay. So that helps too.
Shift the weight back.
The front end geometry in the older style Chevelles like that are better than the metric cars.
Well, I got that Delta 88 sitting around.
That was a good car too, but that would have been heavy, Josh. It's just So you give up a little something, but it evens out. He's right there with us.
I was wondering if it's worth getting into that. Elliot keeps trying to buy the hood from me because it's aluminum.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Hard to find. All right. So that kind of wraps up what happened at Wall Stadium. It was a good night over there. The only other thing
were there any food specials?
Oh, yeah. Tim,
they had a
volcano burger or something, right?
Yeah, they had a volcano burger. And what was on a volcano burger, I don't know. They never said exactly what was on it. And not that it's a bad thing, but the food line was tremendously long again. So for me to walk over there to see what was to get to the signs, I couldn't really see the signs.
Did you see anybody walking around eating cookies from this new sweet shop they had up there?
Yeah, I actually did. The people right next door sat right next to us. They had red velvet cookies, and they were telling Bailey that they had everything. They had brownies, chocolate chip cookies, everything you want. I had the same question Scott did before. I asked if they had milk. I don't know if they had milk or not. You can't have cookies without milk.
I'll tell you what, the track should contact Nick Kilmer's girlfriend, Becca Mack. She made us Christmas cookies during the holiday seasons and dropped them off on her porch. She makes this pistachio cookie, like they're green.
She doesn't like me.
I see you guys were arguing on Facebook there. But Becca Mack makes the best pistachio cookies I ever had in my life. She's very good at making cookies, and unfortunately, Josh will never taste any of her cookies after the conversation they had today on Facebook.
Josh may never taste any girl's cookie ever.
No cookies, no milk for Josh from any girls. You can always buy your own cookies, Josh.
I'm Santa. I'm Santa. I go around and get all.
When you can't get a girl's cookie, just do what the other guys who go down to the corner and buy cookies.
It's only legal in Nevada.
Don't get them stale cookies, oh boy. Don't get you.
All right. The only other thing my brother wants to talk about. Oh, and unfortunately, because the power went out in the pits at Wall Stadium, the fans weren't allowed. The fans weren't allowed in the pits, and we were just allowed to start doing that again. So we're going another week without the fans coming in.
I know it's not the end of the world, but that's
we all miss. We can't wait for that to happen. That's when I would see my nieces. That's when they would come in and see me. You know,
the Twins cannot wait to get into the pits, and Jimmy Blue actually stayed because he wanted to see the fans.
Yeah,
which would have been good.
It's definitely a missed part of the night. Your night doesn't feel complete at Wall Stadium until the people are in the pits afterwards and everybody. It's kind of like the pressure's off. You already yelled and screamed at the person you were mad at in your race. Everybody's out of their fire suits. They're starting to cool off. You know, everybody's drinking a soda or a beer or eating cookies or whatever. And it's just the relaxed part of the night. Yeah, you have a couple people leave pissed off, but for the most part, you're almost kind of over what happened for the night, and it's a fun part of the night. And I tell you what, we park next to Tommy Martino Jr. He can't wait for it either. They've even been staying around. They kind of have like a little party afterwards, Tim. They sit next to their trailer and they break the beers open and they have food and everything, and they stay and hang out, you know, kind of like the Okersons and Ray Costello used to do back in the day. Remember, Tim? They used to stay a very long time after the races and hang out.
Don't forget Bill Stockert.
Oh, yeah, Bill Stockert. He's the flagger now.
Yeah, but I mean, if you wanted to feast, man, they had stew and they had everything in that trailer.
I tell you what, it's coming to the point now where you got to bring food, because if we don't get out of there until after 11 o'clock, you can't go to a restaurant anymore. Everything's closed now. I mean, we're to the point now we just stop at Quick Check and grab something and bring it home. Or I tell Nancy, go get something before we go to the track, and we'll just have it when we get home, because I mean, some nights we get out of there early and it's cool. We can go to the Ark or Mulligan's or Woody's, but like a night like last night, it was like over by 10:30. By the time you get out of there and get paid, it's 11, and now you're pushing all the kitchens.
11 o'clock is the new 2 o'clock.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, 100%. And
10:30 is the new 1:30. You know, they'll stop. The kitchen closes at 10:30 and they close at 11. You know, where it used to be 1:30 and 2 a.m. You know.
I think somebody just posted in the Wall Stadium page. Sorry, Tim. Real quick. That they're advertising some other restaurant that like, oh good, they're open till this late. The kitchen's till 11. Like, the kitchen's till 11. That doesn't help us. Like, no. I mean, that's good for the normal crowd, but that doesn't help a race crowd.
On average, we've been getting out of there about 10 o'clock. Do you know what I mean? On average, so
you or the drivers?
Yeah, me as a fan. So I'm saying.
Oh yeah, no, it's great for the fans, but I'm saying the drivers.
Let me finish. I said about time you get everything loaded up and cleaned up. It's 10:30, 10:45. 11 o'clock's not doing you any good.
Yeah.
But I've also been told. Now I don't know from this experience, but Mulligan's is working with that. Like, if you show up there at 11:15 and they're still actually cooking, they're not sending you away.
Well, Mr. Elliott Wall, he hasn't really skipped a meal in a long time. It was 10:30, and he was yelling at his friends, "You guys go to Mulligan's, go order a bunch of food. I'll be there in a little bit." He was so worried they were going to miss the kitchen. He said they got there, and Mulligan's did accommodate him and did make a bunch of food before Elliott got there.
The night that I was there, and we would, after Sunday, they had nothing to do with a Saturday night, that the guy came out and said, "Listen, you come here on Saturday night, and you say you're from the races, and it's 11:15. If I'm here, you're getting fed."
Yeah, right.
So
I mean, that's cool. I mean, I know that they're not obligated to do that, but yes, that is a cool thing to do, especially when you know.
Or go to like a limited menu. You know, like, hey, deep fryer's still hot. Whatever you want in the deep fryer, fries and mozzarella sticks. You know.
Yeah, it should be deep fryer.
You might not
wings.
you might not get a veal parmesan dinner, but at least have bar food. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think a bar pie, some fried stuff, and wings. You know, like that's enough to, at least feed some people.
They have really good chicken wings there, too.
What, Mulligan's?
Oh, yeah. They're called 50-50 wings. They're really good.
Okay. I had a 50-50 burger a while back at the Stonefire Grill. I think what is that, Beechwood? Used to be the old High Velocity. It was 50% ground beef, 50% bacon. That's
What's
what
a
made
50-50 wing, Tim? I've never heard of that before.
I honestly don't know, but what I think that it is, I think they
50% chicken, 50% turkey.
No, I think what they do is it's the way they cook it. It's half cooked, they half deep fry it, and then the other half grill it, or the other way around.
Okay.
And the way that they do it, it keeps all the juice inside. You must sear the. How would they cook for? They must deep fry it first, I guess, because that would sear the skin, I guess. And then they cook it the rest of the way on the grill.
Oh, okay. Something to try. I never heard of it.
Yeah, they were so good. Other thing I wanted to say is you talk about partying after the races. Remember, like when Carburetor used to bring the hot tub on the flatbed back in the day?
Yeah. The partying got crazy at Wall Stadium back in the 90s. Between Kevin Ayers bringing a hot tub and people like Jamie Tomano and the Bluets bringing fireworks, kind of ruined it. People, they kind of shut the party down.
Grandpa Blewett would go buy 600 pieces of Holiday Inn to a chicken holiday. Remember all and that was New Egypt, all the chicken.
I remember one time hanging out at Wall Stadium and someone bought a snowmobile and they started riding across the parking lot through the gravel, no snow, just flying around the parking lot in a snowmobile. That was odd.
And they started having racing. They made that oval out in the parking lot that one night. It was crazy over there at one. You can't do stuff like that anymore.
Used to burn tires, right? Used to burn the tires and stuff.
Fun is illegal. Jeez.
All right, guys. That wraps up what we're talking about at Wall Stadium. The only other thing we want to talk about tonight, my brother wanted to bring it up. He wanted to talk about the new SRX series that Ray Evernham's doing with Tony Stewart.
Oh, yeah.
It's doing a lot better than I thought it was going to do.
I want to stick up for Andrew a little bit before we go to that.
All right, go ahead.
A lot of people, social media, sitting in the ground, people come up to me every week, and after about the third week, people come up. Josh, I'm sure you've gotten some emails about stuff about everybody. He's won, 5 in a row now?
Yeah, he's won every modified race there this year.
So, obviously, in everybody's mind, he's cheating. All right. Me and Scott grew up going to Wall Stadium. Back in the day, we heard folklore of Parker Bowden in the 659 6-cylinder coupe with a big, long pipe on the back that shot flames out of it because he was running jet fuel from the Navy base in it. Blah, blah, blah. Scott, you got caught up in it once when you were winning a lot, and you had
I had Jim Hageman was one of the tech officials there, and Hageman built my engine. So a lot of people started complaining about that. So what they did is they brought Frankie Borwick in to tech my motor to make everybody happy.
And
didn't they make you add weight or something?
Yeah, but I wasn't the only one. The rule back then is if you won 3 races in a row or 4 total or something like that, you had 100 pounds.
Okay.
And I'm sure Dave Michaels went through it when he won. There was those couple of years where Dave Michaels, if he didn't wreck, he won. He was just the man over there. I'm sure he was cheating then too. I'm sure he went through the same thing, so he knows about it and what it's like. And I've heard from my 20 years that Jimmy and John, they just cheat. They got the money. They can buy whatever they want. They're going to cheat.
Well, I'm sure they have better parts because they can afford them. I mean,
but if just because
Josh, I wouldn't say they have better parts, but don't get me wrong, money helps in racing. What it allows you to do is, you can buy more stuff just to try it.
Yeah,
more trial and error.
Yeah.
Like we're a guy like me, I'll buy a set of shocks and I better pick the right ones because I can't afford to buy another set for a while. Or I better pick what springs I want because you can spend $400 in springs, and I got to run what I got for a while before I can get the money again to buy more. Where if you have a little bit more funding, you can try. I ran a set of 500s across the front. I want to try 400s. You just go out and buy them. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that didn't work. I'll go back. Let's try 450s now. Like you can just afford to buy more parts and try them and trial and error before you land on the setup.
Yeah, I would say there's that, and then sometimes there's the people that buy. If the division allows it. You could buy the lighter weight version of whatever that normally cost more. Like we were talking about carburetors earlier, and like they have that special 12 what was it the Holly carburetor, the 500.
Yeah, the HP.
Yeah.
We were going to get into that. Yeah. So we'll go with that one now. You brought it up. Apparently, one of the things is you can buy a carburetor that's what Scotch is basically the same thing, but it's not the same thing. It's a whatever, just not built for.
I don't follow the modified rules that much. They change a lot. Trust me, I have enough time keeping up with all the places I race in and the factory stock rules alone. But you had to run a Holley 4412 carburetor at Wall Stadium. Holley makes they call it the Holley 4412 HP, which is a specifically built Holley racing carburetor, and you're not allowed to run that one. And the crazy part about that is, weren't allowed to run it. Maybe they are now. I don't know. That is the black carburetor. It's black. They make it black, so it stands out. You can know that's not the regular 4412. I always heard at first you weren't allowed to run it. Maybe they're letting you run it now, and people didn't know that. I don't know. I don't know what they were talking about. But the crazy part is it's cheaper than buying a tricked out legal Wall Stadium carburetor from a place like VDL or Bill Pink down in North Carolina, or Stealth or any of those guys. You can spend anywhere from $800 to $1,000 for a VDL carburetor. That is the old casting, and they just tune it up inside. Where Holley just made one from the factory that's an HP carburetor that can beat that carburetor for $600. It's one of those crazy rules. Yeah,
and like you said many times in this podcast, you're so sick and tired of taking your carburetor off that's
open the carburetor roll up so we don't have to check them. You know what I'm saying? And that's the crazy part. We're allowed a good carburetor. We're allowed to have a good carburetor, and every week they pull the carburetor off. It got to the point where the bolts screw into the adapter plate. I had to put Healy coils in them. That's because the threads were running. I had to take the carburetor off. And for a while they did seal them. We did have seal, so if you got it checked, and he would seal it like he would seal the motors, and then they stopped doing that too, and they're back to pulling the carburetor off every week.
So to answer the people's question that say, do they check carburetors? Yes, they do check carburetors. I am under the impression that Skip is still doing the carburetors over there.
Yeah, Skip. And he does. Some people say, you see the carburetor walk into the tech shack and you don't see it again, and who knows if they're even checking anything. I've bought my carburetor into the tech shack, and Skip's in there. He has all the tools. They got a go or no-go gauges where you stick them down. If the gauge goes through it, it's illegal. If it hits the sides, it's legal. Skip does a thorough check on the carburetors. Trust me, when they go into that tech shed, Skip's checking them.
I forgot to say before, all these questions that I'm asking are from people that have asked me. I could care less. I think a modified should be, you show up with the biggest flamethrower you got. You want to put 40 tires on a week, put them on. If you want to
it's the premier division.
If you want to put fuel injection on there, put fuel injection on it. If you can't afford it, don't cry.
Go to the sportsman division.
It's a modified. So this is not us complaining.
A lot of people said that, but back in the day, in the 70s and 80s, it was pretty simple. They had a weight rule to cubic inch. For every more cubic inch you had to add 9 pounds. So say if the cubic inch rule was 400 cubic inches, if you showed up with a 500 cubic inch motor, you have to add 9 pounds per cubic inch. So you would have to add 900 pounds. That's how they kept it. So people didn't show up with these huge motors. You know what I'm saying? But what changed that is people got smart, like Troyer and all those guys, and they found out that a small block, because of the weight break, was faster than a big block, and the car handled better. As
far as cheating goes, I was lucky enough and very fortunate enough and blessed enough to have 2 years of sitting in Mario Fiore's office next to the coffee pot, and he would tell stories how there ain't nobody cheated any worse than Mario Fiore and got away with it. He would tell the story. Oh my God, the stories he would tell.
He was one of those guys that enjoyed beating tech more than he enjoyed beating the field. He could finish third and be happy that his car was cheated up and didn't get caught in tech. Then he would have been. And that made him more happy than actually winning the race. Like, he enjoyed beating tech.
One of the things I truly miss is listening to Mario. Mario would talk so much, even after John stopped driving for him. John would call Mario, literally as we got on 84 coming home from Stafford, throw the phone up on the dashboard and tell Mario he had to go when we hit the Tappan Zee Bridge. Like, Mario would just sit there and talk and talk and talk. And so he knew, I know how to cheat and get away with it. this is just what people have been asking me about. You got to say this, you got to say that, and this is what this is about. There's nothing to do with what we feel. So that's the carburetor issue. You know what the carburetor issue?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. It's just, Tim, you are right. You did mention Dave Michaels' season when he won like 13 out of 15 races. When you hit it on a setup and it's good, it's good. And racing's weird too. When things are going your way, everything goes your way. Like the races go your way. Stuff breaks after the race as you're pulling into the pits, not during the race. But when that luck changes, it changes. You know what I'm saying? So a guy like Andrew's got to enjoy that he's on top right now because it can change on him real quick. And then the next guy's going to be on top. I mean, Anthony Sessley's going to be winning all the races, or Stephen Reed's going to be back on top and winning all the races. It's just the way it goes, And one thing I could say about Andrew too, I don't see him getting any favoritism at the racetrack. He's at the back gate with us. He pulls in the back gate with us. He's standing next to me at the driver's meeting. Like he's just there racing. He's a racer when he's there.
He's guilty by association no matter what you say or what you do. There's nothing – that's not going to change. It's not going to change. Yeah. And unfortunately, you know what? If it wasn't for the whole family, none of us would be there to begin with. So you better get used to it. And all right, so with that one said, we'll go with the second one which is the most ridiculous one I heard always, that he should have been disqualified after he did the donuts.
Well, you know what? I can elaborate on that a little bit more. Technically, I mean, there's people who look the rule up, and in the rules, it flat out says no burnouts per state police after the race for safety reasons. If you do a burnout, you get disqualified. It's that simple. But what the people in the grandstands don't understand, at the drivers' meeting Saturday, it was announced you're allowed to do burnouts. They gave them a designated area. All the track crew and infield personnel, such as photographers and ambulances and the guys that sweep the track, were told after the races, do not go down the turns 1 and 2. That's a designated safe area approved by the state police to do a celebratory burnout or donut. It was announced at the drivers' meeting.
Then they got to update the rule book.
Yeah, but sometimes rules change during the year, and it's not in the rule book. They announced it at the drivers' meeting, and a lot of people in the grandstands aren't at the drivers' meeting. I seen people on Facebook saying he should have been disqualified. He did a burnout, blah, blah. Because last time he did a burnout, and it wasn't changed yet, so now they made a new rule. And me personally, I've never been a donut burnout guy because, like I said, I can only afford.
I don't want to hurt the equipment.
I can only afford my equipment once, and I can barely afford it once. So I'm not going to tear my stuff up. But let's face it, this new wave of race fans, because what they do in NASCAR, they burn it down on their front straightaway. They want to see that at their local short track. So if a guy like Andrew, number one, after a 100-lap feature, he's not using those tires again. Where the factory stock guys, we're going to use our tires again. Burn it down. If he did break the motor, over rev it, if he has the money to get it fixed, let him do it. You know what I'm saying? The fans like it. So we were just saying it sucks that the fans can't come in the pits after the races. That's an added attraction to your ticket you bought for $22. So is the burnout. When I was at Pocono, one of the guys ran out of gas and couldn't do the burnout, and people in the grandstands felt like they got ripped off. Like a burnout to me is not exciting. I can care less about it. I'm there to see the race, but there's fans that love that. They might be from like the monster truck generation that love to see stuff like that. People love watching Andrew do a burnout. Let him do it. You know what I'm saying?
Two examples of that is I rode America 2 weeks ago. They actually put tires on Chase's car so he could do burnouts again because he didn't do burnouts where he was supposed to do the burnout.
Right.
So, and when Bailey and Alexis, I told last week on Pocono with Kyle Busch, that was the best thing they saw. They loved it. They did the burnout. I get it, but I very seldom at Wall Stadium before they even made it. Besides that Joker Felix and the
I love Felix.
There again, Tim, I think that's what the state police. Felix got too carried away. I mean, there was times he was doing the donuts as the race was still going on because he dropped out of the race. He took it a little too far, and I think that's the reason why the state police stepped in and said no more.
I love Felix, but I remember him doing a burnout. He had that it was like a flatbed wrecker, right? And he had two cars on the back, and then he had another car up over the cab. He was on that top one over the cab doing a burnout on that.
I mean, it was kind of cool, and the fans loved it. But back in the day when Felix was doing the burnouts, Felix would bring 4 or 5 cars to track. At the end of the race, there'd be literally 6 or 7 guys doing donuts in the infield.
Yeah.
I think that's what made the state police stop it. But
I agree. But other than those guys doing it, I don't like Gil Hearn never did it.
Nah.
You know,
but that wasn't popular back then. Now it is.
Yeah.
I mean, this new generation wants to see it because, no matter what we say about NASCAR racing or Cup racing, there always will be. You got the trickle down effect. From safety to how the show's put on, trickles down to short track racing. Burnouts are bigger now in the top 3 NASCAR racing that you see on TV. So the short track guys want to do it again. And like I said, just so people know that are sitting in the grandstands, don't go by what it says in that rule book, because they announced at the drivers' meeting that they got the okay from state police, and there is as long as it's between turns 1 and 2 after the race and there's nobody around, you're more than free to do a few donuts. She even said, don't make it a half-hour thing. Just, do a few and then come to victory lane, And she did say, don't come all the way around the racetrack, cut through the infield or come back up the front straightaway, which Andrew did. She don't want to waste too much time, So there's no more. I don't want to hear he should be disqualified because it was announced at the drivers' meeting.
Hey, funny that you say that. One part about you said how the rules changed. And one of the people asked me, said, new rules just appear in rule book without notification. Case in point, some cars showed up with bump stop shocks, and all of a sudden this is legal, but not by the rule book.
Right. And you know what? The rule book is a moving target. I do agree with that, and there should be a bulletin. If the rules do.
I was going to ask you, if they change the sway bar rule in the middle of the week for the factory stocks, do you get a phone call and say, "Hey, this has changed"?
It's usually at a driver's meeting.
I can honestly say I have, but the only reason I might know about it is because I'm there every race. Sometimes you got to be there every race. It's not. You can see it coming too, because it's something that usually gets talked about for a couple of weeks and then it finally happens. So you usually got the notion that it's going to happen. And sometimes they'll tell you the week before, all right, starting next week, you can do this with your car. You know what I'm saying?
What was it? I remember that one at the drivers' meeting. I think it was Rick Collins said, all right, you can get rid of the mufflers, guys. And there were people sawzalling mufflers off of their cars in the pits.
Yeah. There again, sometimes, the benefit of the rule changes is being there every week. The guys that aren't there every week, sometimes it gets surprised on them. Sometimes it's hard to get information out, but I think the best way is post it right on where they post the lineups and stuff, right on the chalkboard up in front. Make an announcement at the drivers' meetings. But you know what? No matter how much you can change the rule book online, you can put it on Facebook, you can post it on the Pit Shack. There's going to be that one or two person that didn't get the memo.
No, I get it. So
there's people that don't agree with the new rule, and then they'll say, well, I didn't know about that. You know what I'm saying? Or can't afford the new rule, or, what I'm saying? Or aren't, are fighting the new rule. Racing's a tough sport because there's so many moving parts, and
literally
and figuratively. If you got 20 people in a division, 17 people might like it and 3 might not. You know what I'm saying? It's a tough sport.
It's all going to matter on how it affects them.
And I've seen it in football too. I've seen it in baseball. Like, all sports suffer when it comes to rule books. You know what I'm saying?
But even on the top level, you look at NASCAR. One of the manufacturers
they change all the time.
But the manufacturer
guarantee you within the next couple of weeks, Chevy's going to get a rule change, thanking everybody. Sometimes you got to adjust on the fly. It's just it's a tough sport.
One of the manufacturers will complain about this, keep complaining. They'll basically lobby against something. The NASCAR will change something. It'll benefit that person or that manufacturer. They'll kick ass for a while. Then something else will change.
Josh, sometimes it's as simple as saying Coney Shock coming and saying, well, I'll put $10,000 towards your purse, but you can only run Coney Shocks. You know what I'm saying? You just never. Sometimes sometimes it's the competitors that are asking something. Sometimes it's sponsor driven. Sometimes it's business driven. We can only run Sunoco fuel there because Sunoco puts money into the track and they sell a fuel there. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's business driven. We can only run Hoosier tires and you got to buy them through Wall Stadium because that's how Wall Stadium generates money. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes a rule can change because a part gets discontinued. You just never know.
Yeah.
Right, so
you know what's crazy now too, Josh? Because I run in the lower division, the hobby stock and enduro divisions. A lot of the places I race, there's a money rule on shocks. It could be, all right, no shock over $60. Well, guess what? Before COVID, the AFCO shocks were $68. And now they're $108. So now they're going to adjust the money. So technically, my shock's illegal because the price went up, but the rule hasn't changed yet. You know what I'm saying? But it's still the same shock, you know?
Exactly. That's what I mean. I kind of wish for a lot of places they would they could pick. Let's go to one of the common parts catalogs and say, all right, this is the crankshaft you're all going to run.
Right.
You know, even
now,
if Martino's
30 people
building
call, they don't have 30 crankshafts made. You know, then what do you do? You know.
Well, that would be something if the track could say, hey, we're going to want X amount available, because this is going to be our rule, and then they could prepare for it.
But the top, that's all good and fun and games. And actually, what you guys are talking about is my next thing. The basic of this question is, when a rule changes, they're not getting informed, and they're behind. So you either got to put it on social media, or like Scott said, be there every week, pay attention to what the board says, but there has to be some way.
I'll agree with that statement a little bit. There's been times I got news of a rule change late.
Now, say Scott, say you show up at the track this Saturday, and there's something that okay, AJ's got it on his car. He goes out there and he beats you guys by a second on the field. You're going to be pissed that you weren't told you could run it.
And I agree. It puts you a week behind. I agree. But sooner or later, you're going to know. But I remember something funny happening. Back in the day, the rule with the Legend car was you had to buy Wawa gas at the Wawa gas station on 34 by Console Auction. You had to have a receipt from there. That's the only place you can run gas from there. You know, you had to go there and get gas. Well, they all show up at the track one day. The Wawa down the street was out of gas.
Mm-hmm. You know, I know all about that Wawa gas in the Sunday series.
Yeah, exactly. So now you have to change the rule because the rule says you got to buy the gas from a Wawa on Route 34 in Wall Township. Well, guess what? It's closed. They're getting the tanks changed underground. You know,
Roger Nickerson's over there. I'm getting sandwiches in the morning to bring the girls to the track for breakfast. Roger Nickerson's over there filling up gas cans for $2 a gallon. Bringing with the pits that we have to buy from him for $3 a gallon. I bought my own damn gas at the gas station.
I know. Some rules are business driven. You know what I'm saying, Tim?
You know what?
It doesn't always mean that's not always the worst.
35 got my business.
Yeah, but
anyhow. No, screw that. I ain't paying more dollars for gas from him.
No, but I agree. I mean, I feel the same way where people are saying. Another little complaint I have about Tech at Wall Stadium. Sometimes when people get disqualified, it's like a secret what they get disqualified for. Where other racetracks I see on their websites, they have a bulletin. Hey, this guy got disqualified. He had an illegal distributor. And then someone at home can be like, oh my God, I run that distributor too. I didn't know they were illegal. Now you'll switch it. It's like you're spreading the word quicker, and now people know. Oh man, I didn't know we couldn't run that distributor.
That was one of my questions on here. Who Rob's checking this or Rob's checking that. It should be where anybody. Well, there's two ways. If you're a modified owner or driver and they're checking a certain part, you should be able to have a representative there watching.
Yeah, I agree. Agree.
How hard is that?
Yeah, I agree.
Or if you don't like what you see, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to have. If you had 500 hours, you could see whatever you wanted.
Yeah, they still have that. They still have that.
But if people are worried about Rob being the tech guy over there, anybody that has a modified owner or driver's license should be able to have a representative there while they're checking any part.
And you know what? In a way, you kind of do, because it's not like they could pull these cars into a garage at Tech and shut the door. I mean, they're out there in the open. You can stand within 4 or 5 feet of the cars getting tore down.
If there is any question, I mean, in NASCAR, like if there was a question, you could go right in the trailer with them. You know, the crew chief, not me, but the crew chief. You know, there's no reason why that should. And if that's not allowed,
trust me, when I was winning all the time over there and I'm getting tore down, they were 10 deep watching my car get tore down. I'm pretty sure Josh was at the front of the line over there.
I need to know what he's running. I need to finish better than 8th.
What we're talking about right now has been going on in racing for many years. Honestly, I think Tech at Wall Stadium does a pretty good job. I know with Rob helping Andrew, it's kind of a little bit of a conflict of interest, but I also know that Steve Puglisi, the Tech official, Rob kind of steps back from Tech from the modified, and Steve kind of takes over and runs it a little bit more because of that reason.
I agree.
And we were talking in our pre-show that our racing community is such a small circle that there's there's no way we can find somebody that completely doesn't know anybody at that racetrack.
Everybody's guilty by association.
Everybody's guilty by association. I was just explaining to Josh, I like rules. I like Tech and cars. I work close with Tech over there. I've been asked before by Enduro Series I race at and other tracks I race at if I want to become a Tech official. Maybe someday I will. For instance, like say if I didn't race next year and Rob Heyer asked me, Scott, you want to come Tech the factory stock cars? Because he knows I know the ins and outs and what we're allowed and what we're not allowed and what works and what doesn't work. And then Josh comes back racing. Well, now people are going to think I'm letting Josh go by because we do this podcast together. You know what I'm saying? It's a tough situation, you know?
Like I said, it's simple. Just if you got a problem.
And I think it scares away qualified people because a guy like Frank Borwick or Martino, why would they want to take the job? Because it can hurt their business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I tell you what, I've raced all over this country, and I can honestly say that the Tech at Wall Stadium is probably one of the best I've been through. I have been to tracks where they have better equipment, maybe better areas. I've been to race tracks where they actually have a huge pole barn, kind of like what I have in my backyard, and that's what I mean. The top three pull in there, and they shut the door. Now, fourth, fifth, and sixth, they don't even know what's going on. But when you are in like Southside Speedway, which unfortunately closed, they had a Tech building that had a car lift in it. They would actually lift the cars up. You know what I'm saying? But it was closed to the public. It was just the race teams in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the track owner's son wasn't crew chiefed by the official that was in there.
But as far as plus, you know, you can only afford to pay so many people to Tech race cars and still run a profitable racetrack. You know, I really feel that Tech is an open book over at Wall Stadium because they just have that little chain link fence they ask you to stand behind to give the teams. I mean, there's been times I'm teching my car and I look over my shoulder and there's someone peeking over it. You know what I'm saying? And we are out in the open. You are allowed, fans too, when they're allowed in the pits. You know, when there's something interesting going on, there's usually 100 people over there. You know what I'm saying? And it's an open book. I mean, as much as you can have an open book, you know.
I think the topic was that Robin is affiliated with Andrew. I mean, it's simple that if you have a representative there, and it's either legal or it's not. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's an easy fix. Going back to Josh, let's hit the nail on the head with the next complaint that I got was, and I talked to you about, Scott, this is an easy fix too. Josh was already halfway there, that they're complaining about they're allowed to run 300 rebuildable shocks. And I know from being on the modified tour that a rebuildable shock means that it could cost you up to $3,000.
Right. That's a weird written rule because you can, like Tim says, the body of the shock can be $300, but then you can send it to a guy in New England and the rebuild might cost $3,000. So you might as well get rid of that rule because it makes no sense, you know?
Yeah. So Josh hit the nail on the head. Use a shock that's either A, not rebuildable, or
like we run.
Yeah, or something that can be policed. How do you police a rebuildable shock? The only way that I would know how to do. You know, you're not paying for the parts; that you're paying for the technology that the guy has in his head.
Yeah, the guy running them on the dyno and revalving them and all that stuff. You know,
I mean, there's nothing in a shock but a bunch of, they look like little.
But unfortunately, these modifieds, they're becoming shock dependent. I should say. Not back in the day. Back in the our cars. We don't really ride on the shock as much as we do the spring, where the modifieds, they're going all shock now because they're getting softer and softer on the springs and the shocks are doing the work. So shocks are a big thing in the modifieds, and that's where the technology's at. The way that rule's written, it makes no sense. It should be a $300 non-rebuildable shock is what it should say.
What is, besides being able to make them better by rebuilding, what is, if they get bent, you can fix them, or you just might as well throw it away.
Like if you bend the shaft or something, you can change the shaft. You know what I'm saying? That is a cost savings too. If you break it, you can rebuild it.
not going to cost you $3,000 with all the other parts.
Nah.
So I was thinking about this one last night. I mean, maybe if for whatever reason why they had to rebuildable shock, maybe have like Mickey Kessler make like a bunch of them up and say, you buy your shocks from Mickey Kessler and they're sealed. You know what I'm saying?
But then again, that's half the fun of running the modified division. You can rebuild your shocks and adjust your race car. People enjoy that part of the racing, that's
that's a big part of the racing, yeah.
If you can't afford it, race a sportsman and they run non-rebuildable. But then again, Tim, we've seen it go the whole gamut where everybody ran Pro Shocks forever, remember? And then they went to those Olin shocks. Remember the Olin shocks? And now they're all like
Pro Shocks.
Yeah, now they're all on Bilsteins. It all goes in cycles. And then be sure enough, Jimmy Bull will throw a set of old Pro Shocks on and win again. And everybody will go back to the $200 Pro Shocks, Wall Stadium's always been a good Pro Shock track,
I remember those Olin shocks.
They were the first rebuildable ones, Tim, that
everybody had to have them.
Yeah.
They were flying people in from they were from like Switzerland or England or some crap. And they were flying people in, technicians in helicopters to New Hampshire with shocks. It was amazing.
I think Mike Stefanik was the one that started all that, the Olin shock.
He might have been.
But everything goes in spurts, and then whoever's winning, that's where everybody thinks it's the shocks. And now whatever shocks Andrew is running, I think he's pretty sure he's on Bilsteins. Everybody's going to buy Bilsteins, and then someone's going to show up with another shock and win, and everybody's going to those shocks.
The point was that they were complaining about how much it costs to rebuild them, which is
right.
Just make it so it's a shock that you can't rebuild. I don't.
Yeah. Or rewrite the rule. I mean, get rid of the money amount on the rule. Unfortunately, that's one of those rules that are weirdly written, and you can legally get around it, because and the prices are going up anyway. That shock that might have been $300 might be $400 now because of it might that's a rule that might have to get updated,
And then the last two left. I mean, this one I don't think is any secret. That all the tires come from Hoosier Tire East and go to Supreme Manufacturing and not to the racetrack. And people say that obviously they get the pick of the litter.
And to be honest with you, I've called the track and said I needed 10 tires, and Diane said I was more than welcome to drive up to Supreme Manufacturing and get my tires.
Okay, I understand. If some people,
and I know I've been to Barney's, and I'm like, hey, where's Robert at? He ran up to Supreme to get tires.
Oh, I know all about that.
Jimmy's been up there and bought tires. I mean, anybody's allowed to go up there and buy tires.
What are you going to do? Soak them or put them on a durometer or what?
No, some people are just saying there's dates on the tires and you can pick out the newest tire. I tell you what, man, I've went in the tire trailer and picked out what I thought was the best tire, and you don't know until you get them mounted up. You know what I'm saying? There's codes on them, and it's the luck of the draw. I mean, you can take educated guesses all you want, but that doesn't mean it's a better tire, I go on the trail, I look at the tire, if the white lettering looks like it's starting to turn yellow, I know that tire's been sitting around for a while. I try to find the cleanest tires, people that sniff them and smell them and read the codes.
I do know for the modified tour that you can go to Hoosier Tire, not for Wall, this has nothing to do with Wall Stadium. Yeah. You can go to Hoosier Tire East, you pick out your tires, but you're not allowed to take them.
Right.
Hoosier has to bring them to the track. And then when we get to the track, NASCAR will be like, okay, 2:00, you can start playing with your tires. That eliminates.
If you think you're good enough with the tires, if there's a trailer with 200 tires in it, and you think you're going to pick the 4 best tires out of those 200 trailers, you're fooling yourself. You know what I'm saying?
There's only 196 left because Andrew's got the other 8 superstar tires.
It doesn't matter. I mean, before that, Harry was selling the tires, and no one was complaining. Steven was getting the best tires, so I don't go with that either. I mean, maybe now with the tire shortage, maybe, but I've been invited right up to Supreme to pick out of the trailer right next to Andrew.
So my point being, if that's a problem, this is just ways to maybe try to fix this, and this is just me thinking. If people, it's not going to change. That's not going to change. But here's what they could do. They could have trailers from Hoosier Tire East, have Brian Crowley put a seal on the back of the trailer and tell everybody, okay, Thursday at 8:00 at night, the trailer's going to be
popping the seal.
Popping the seal and have at it. There you go. Pick your tires out.
But there again, Tim, I've been told by the track, exactly that. Yeah, we should have the tires here by 4 o'clock. You're more than welcome. If you want to wait for Saturday, wait for Saturday. If you want to drive up to Supreme in East Brunswick, come get them. Like they were an open book. They really were. And I've seen Robert Barney run up there at lunchtime and get tires for him, Jeff Lane, Chrissy Reynolds.
I can't honestly sit here and tell you that I've never been there. You know what I mean? The point being is that if it is a problem, and it's enough of a problem that, then again, car owners, licensed car owners and drivers, if there's a problem, say, listen, at 7 o'clock, the seal's getting broke. If you're not here, I don't want to hear it. You know, that's one way. And the other way is this is another, takes up more space and a little bit more money. Have the tires in containers at Wall Stadium like they do have there.
Yeah, but then you got to worry about theft.
Well, yeah, then again, I know that, but have it sealed and 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Like, I go broke buying 4 tires. Imagine buying 400 tires. How much that money's laying around? You know what I'm saying?
Somebody said they're trying to pick the lock to bring. What's in this trailer? They open it up and it's just a bunch of big tires. Like, what are we doing?
The reason they go to Supreme is security. You can't leave all those tires at a track in the middle of the night. You know what I'm saying? Tim, you've been hanging out at that racetrack and you've seen how many people drive through there, just driving through there. You know, like the tires have to go to Supreme just for security reasons. Yeah.
So, like I said, my fix is have a sealed trailer. Everybody, you're there. If you're not, you're not. You know, or that or don't complain. I'm just trying to find.
Yeah, it's up to the teams if they want to play storage wars or not.
And then the last one is a pretty cut and dry one. It's just flat out lack of tech in cars, like overlooking things.
Nah, I tell you, tech's thorough over there. I mean, Josh, how many times the factory stock's got to pull their front springs and get them checked? And pulling front springs on a factory stock is not an easy task.
It's not fun.
I mean, I seen Rob pull heads off on the modifieds. I seen Rob pull transmissions out of the modifieds. Stuff gets checked, you know.
Yeah, I'm
the same people are complaining that heads aren't getting checked or something like that. They're going to be the person that complains when they finish in the top 3 and have to pull heads off. They're going to be, it's a $20,000 motor. It's hot. There's sand's going to get in it. You know what I'm saying? It's just, this is.
Look, if
this has been going on since racing has started, and it's going to keep continuing. You know what I'm saying?
If the tech guys wanted to be lazy, all right. If they wanted to be lazy and just get out of there, they wouldn't have gone through what was it that night? 7 cars looking for bad pulleys on the factory stocks.
Josh, and I'm not going to say that some nights tech's easier than other nights. Sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Tech. You know, it all depends what time the races get over. Last week they were teching cars in the dark because they lost power. You know what I'm saying? And they still tech the people over there with portable lights and stuff like that.
What about
sometimes
Scott?
you haven't? Sometimes, you know, sometimes it could be the same 3 cars that were there the week before that you just checked the week before. So tech might be a little easier that night. But pretty much Rob picks 3 things each week to check, other than the basic. You know, our cars go on the scales. We get checked for our left side weight, our total weight, and he checks right front camber. That happens every week. Then he picks 3 other things other than the carburetor for the 900th time that he looks at. You know, it could be the torque converter. It could be, do we have an open rear? Do we have legal bushings in the car? Do we have illegal tie rods on the car? He'll measure our wheelbase. We're only allowed certain offset wheels. He'll measure offsets on wheels. They'll pick 3 or 4 things differently every night and check the tire bank too. So it's a thorough check every day. Some nights, can it be lighter than others? Yes, it can be lighter than others some nights, you know.
But it's also luck of the draw. Scott, what do you think about?
I do notice if Rob gets 3 new cars in that may not have been in tech, and it might be a first timer like a guy like Josh or somebody like that. Guess what? Tech might be a little more thorough that night because he hasn't looked at Josh's car yet. Mm-hmm. And to be fair, if he wants to look at Josh's car more thorough, then he's got to look at the other 2 cars, and it might be a guy like me or Brian O'Shea who's been through tech before, and we might get checked thoroughly that night because he wants to look at the new car that's in tech. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Scott, do you think do you like the idea of the wheel? You want that to come back?
That was good, but there again, I could look at that wheel and build that car to everything that's on that wheel. You know,
yeah,
but they
that's
did
true.
have a wild card where someone can just pick. You know, no, I like those. Tim, you remember the tech wheel? It was like the wheel at the boardwalk. You would just spin it. It would say carburetor, wheelbase, rocker arms, valve springs, and wherever the wheel landed, that's what tech checked. You know what I'm saying?
So I mean, that was to make it more random, and so people weren't saying, "Well, you're only checking springs because it's my
it was
car."
cool. And then they would spin it. It would land on front springs, and everybody would be like, "Oh," because you had to pull front springs. I think that was Mike Towles, right, for Mike's Performances.
I think it was. I'm not.
Yeah,
100%
that was
sure.
pretty cool. Maybe bring the wheel of tech back. Yeah, but then someone said, "Oh, that's not professional." I thought it was the coolest thing ever. You know,
I mean, how much more? As long as it's properly balanced.
But you definitely needed a couple wild card ones, because if I could look at that wheel and be like, all right, there's 10 things on this wheel, I'm going to make those 10 things legal, and then I'll go outside that box and make it illegal. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
By having the wild card ones, then they can check whatever they want it, you know?
Yeah.
No, I like that idea. I did like and it was kind of fun. Like, they set it on a table and people were over there and they watched to see where it landed. It was kind of cool. I liked it. I don't know why they did away with it. I heard they did away with it because people were saying it wasn't professional, but I think it was professional.
I don't know how much it was random. It took the option of the tech person out. It took their opinion out of it,
and it proved that tech was willing to check anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were at the mercy of the wheel. Now they had to check it. You know what I'm saying? It was cool.
Yeah, I thought it was.
But I can honestly say, like I said, I've raced all over the country, and I've been through some thorough techs, and I've been through some techs that were like, it's like, why is this guy even getting paid to be here? And I can honestly say Wall Stadium has a very good tech, before and after. I mean, we're tech thoroughly before we even go out on the track, and then we're tech thoroughly after we go on the track. One thing I would like to add to tech, and I've brought it up many times, I learned from the art series, I would like to see a bubble car. A bubble car meaning, all right, because the top 3 goes to tech every week. So a guy can cheat his ass off and finish 4th every week and win the points. You know what I'm saying?
Tour has a bubble car.
Yeah, when I ran the art series, top 3, and then they pulled a random card. There was times you're going into the pits. All right, 09, you finished 7th to the scale. 57, Josh Matthews, you finished 11th to the scale.
Yeah.
Let's pull some of these guys in from the back of the pack that haven't been through tech. You know what I'm saying? Because the way I look at it, I got to pass them coming up through. A guy like Josh can start on the pole and be cheating and never finish in the top 3, but it still takes me 4 laps instead of 2 laps to pass him now, and it screws my race up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would like to see a bubble car. Yes, I would.
Josh Scott said you could cheat and still not win. That's what he's telling you.
Josh was cheating.
He was right. No.
All right, guys, it's 9:30 at night. I don't think we're going to get to the SRX now because
real quick.
All right, go ahead. Well, yeah, let's do it real quick because my boy Marco Andretti won.
I think I love it. That racetrack that they were at, I would love to see a modified tour race.
Yes.
What a place.
I tell you what, they were at Slinger, right? Tim Slinger.
Yeah.
I tell you what, it reminded me of Wall Stadium, high banked.
It was like Wall Stadium and old school New Egypt and Riverhead all rolled into one.
Yeah, no, I like Slinger. It was a little bit wider Riverhead, a little bit shorter Wall Stadium, but it looked like it drove and ran like Wall Stadium.
And they had the 17-year-old kid who won a couple nights before there. They put him in the field, and he drove his ass off. And he had that race won until the yellow come out.
Didn't Marco jump the restart?
He did jump one of them, yeah, but the initial. The last restart, I don't know. He maybe was the last one, but anyhow, the kid had a 5-car length lead with 2 laps to go, and I think that's when Howie Deegan took out what do you call it?
Tracy.
Paul Tracy.
And it brought the yellow back, and
well, she had to gain a position. That's the only way she knows how.
No, she was paying him back for something that happened earlier in the race.
So the only thing else I want to say is Howie Deegan drove. She damn near won her heat race. She got beat by a fender by Greg Biffle.
Yeah, the Biff.
Who was a short track ace to begin with. So she did really well. And she's up there. She's racing with, the best drivers in the world, Indy 500 winners. Daytona 500 champions.
Tim, how many times have we seen guys from the big league come to Wall Stadium and run mid-pack? It's just so different from what they know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. I just love it. I think it's great racing.
No, I think it's a cool series.
She hasn't kind of found her niche yet because she's so young. where she doesn't know any different, and she might be a little bit better on the short tracks than a guy that won at Indy, because the guy in Indy's used to racing big tracks and road courses and not quarter mile. Where Hallie Deegan just came out of the K&N East and West series where they ran short tracks like that with big heavy cars, you know.
And I think those cars remind me of the old go-kart track that used to be on Point Pleasant Boardwalk, the wooden one that we used to go to after Wall Stadium on Saturday nights. Because those cars, they just bounce into each other. And
I tell you what, I'm starting to like those cars. When they first came out, I wasn't attracted to them at all, and now I kind of see it, and I kind of like them.
They're like go-karts. They bounce off.
Yeah.
You can actually see the body push in and push itself back out.
And I watched a show, I think it was called Under the Skin, and they went underneath the body of the SRX car and showed how it was built. It was very repairable and easy to repair, and I'm sure costly, but they're built to be able to fix real fast. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And they hold up pretty good.
Yeah.
Michael Waltrip's tested a couple of them already. That's for sure.
He's having trouble with the foot box. Did you see that? His feet are too big.
Yeah.
They're trying to run the throttle linkage all weird to get his big feet in there, and
jeez,
he's really struggling with the foot box and those things.
Well, you know what they say: big shoe size, big socks.
And then Scott's boy Marco Andretti pulled out the victory,
which is pretty incredible, and I think that's going to help him. They're saying now, Josh, that instead of finishing last in the Indy cars every time he races, he's trying to put in an Xfinity deal together, and he says he's real close doing it. So we might see him running mid-pack to last real soon in the Xfinity series.
Okay.
Tim, I have a feeling it's going to be with JR Motorsports too, because if you listen to the Dale Jr. Download, he's been talking about Marco a lot, and he actually went to Marco's house out in Nazareth for some type of interview or something like that. And I know they've been talking quite a bit, so I think he might have a 5-race deal or something with a team like Junior Motorsports.
I know Junior's really pushing that Josh Berry kid.
Yeah, he's just replacing Michael Annett now. Michael Annett's got a broken leg, and Josh Berry's going to be racing Michael Annett's car at New Hampshire. I might go to that race. I might go to that race this Saturday.
Just a side note, Josh. I spotted for Josh Berry at New Hampshire last year.
You guys won too, didn't you?
Third.
Finish third? That was with Visconti, right? With the 74 car? Yeah.
Bruce Cook hooked me up with that deal, yeah.
Yeah.
Good guy. Nice guy.
Josh, can you look up the results from the SRX?
Yeah, I can do that real quick. Keep talking.
I thought it was really cool that...
Place was sold out, too, wasn't it, Tim? 8,000 people, they said, were there.
No, they said the town that it was in, there's 5,500 residents in the town.
Okay.
There was 10,500 people at the racetrack.
They doubled the population of the town.
Yeah, they doubled the population of the town.
Another thing I like that Ray Abraham's doing with the SRX series, well, with the television side of it, they do a whole history of the track that they raced at.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They show it being built and what they raced there and how it got there and who owned it and the whole. It really helps the track in the long run too. You know what I'm saying? It's like a big commercial for that racetrack. Now, a guy like me or Josh, if we ever drove out to California, we might look at, we'll be in Wisconsin this day. Maybe we can stop at Slinger and watch a race. You know what I'm saying?
The only thing I don't like about it is when it's over, the race is over. It's over.
It's over. A lot of people complain about that. There's no post-race interviews when the fights are going on and people are yelling at each other. They're cutting all that out. They need to leave a little room for that because people enjoy that, or switch to a different channel, go from CBS, the network channel, to CBS Sports. That's what the Cup does. As soon as the race is over, they go from NBC
if they get
network
the ratings,
to NBC Sports.
If they get the ratings, it'll happen next year.
I think it'll happen, and I think they may go to a 10-race series maybe. I think.
We got you.
I think they're I think they're hitting their marks where they thought they would be, and if not, I think they're actually doing better than they thought they were going to do.
Yeah, I like it. I haven't heard anybody that didn't like it. And plus, it gives, not that Kobe really needed it, but it did help him. I guess he got a truck ride out of it. You damn well know that kid that raced that Slinger is going to get something out of it. He's going to get some kind of late model ride, or
just like Marco Andretti, he's proven he can run a big heavy car. Now he's trying to get an Xfinity ride. Yeah,
it's cool. I say it every week. I so badly wanted Willie T. Ribs to do better than he's doing.
He's not doing good at all. I think where it's helping other guys maybe continue their racing career, I think it's showing him that he's done.
Josh, you know who Willie T.'s Ribs story came from?
Oh, yeah, Josh knows Willie T. Ribs.
Back in the day when we first got cable, they had that. It was like the road course racing on every weekend, and it was it was like Mustangs and Camaros and Nissans, and Willie T. Ribs was it him and John Andretti, right? Were the two?
Yeah, I forget, but he drove for Roush. He drove for Roush's Ford factory team, and he used to win a lot. No, I don't think it was John Andretti. I think it was Wally Dombeck. I think it was.
Wally was Dombeck was definitely there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one other one. There was somebody else there.
I don't know, but if you ever want to watch a cool show, watch Uppity. It's pretty much a documentary about Willie T. Ribs. It's called Uppity. It's on Netflix. Awesome show. You'll know everything you need to know about Willie T. Ribs by watching that show.
That's a recommendation for you.
Yeah. All right, Josh, you got the top 10 for that SRX stuff? I got to get going here.
Yeah, I'm going to say Willie T. Ribs reminds me of Billy D. from...
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
Anyway, so, all right, so the top 10, Marco Andretti. Woo!
That's got to be his first win in a while. We're talking about Gary Burton not winning since 1990.
Luke Fenhouse, Tony Stewart.
That's the local kid, right, Tim? So he ended up finishing second anyway.
Yes.
Tony Stewart, Haley Deegan. I still think she kind of wrecked her way into the top 5 there. Then Bobby Labonte, Ernie Francis Jr., Willie T. Ribs, Greg Biffle, Bill Elliott, Elio Castroneves. Then you had the 2 DNFs, which were Paul Tracy and Michael Waltrip.
I really thought Bobby Labonte would do a little bit better in the series, Tim.
I think he kind of just gets about 4th or 5th, and that's where he wants to be, you know?
Yeah. All right, guys. I got to get going. We want to do a quick What Have We Learned?
I would love to.
Okay, Josh, you're the one that writes this stuff down.
No, Tim, do you have anything?
You go first, and then I'll go.
No, I have to go last. That's how it works.
Ow. I used to do mine off here. Yeah, I learned anything. I guess I learned about Scott's inside. Scott's been in the pits a lot longer than me. Just the stuff he said about the questions that we had about tech, straightened everything out. I learned a little there. Other than that, no, it was just a great night of racing over there, really.
Okay. Scott?
I learned that there's a new sweet shop at the racetrack, and we're hoping they sell milk there.
Okay. I learned that today I learned that Scott got stiffer. You said when you switch tires, you got stiffer springs.
Springs.
So, yeah. I learned that Elliot is 100 pounds lighter than Scott. And I learned that I'm never going to taste Becca Mac's cookies. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Real quick before we get off, another new thing, Emily's trying to do improvements at the racetrack as she makes a little bit of money. She does put it back in the facility. There is a brand new victory lane set up in the pits. Tim.
Oh, I meant to mention that. What do you think of that? I have pros and cons. What do you think of it?
Emily designed it herself. Elliot printed it out, and Richie Burns installed it. It was something that Emily came up with. I like it. I might have went with a different font where it says Victory Lane. But I think it needed it. It cleaned that area up.
Making it white was a big bonus, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to show up well in pictures, Tim. I really do. And they made it a little bit higher than the container box it's screwed to next to. A problem was the other sign was a little too small. So when you got your picture taken in front of it, you could actually see the container box. So, it looks like you're kind of like in like a warehouse area, not a victory lane. I think by making it bigger, newer, and brighter, I think it's going to stand out great in pictures.
I agree. I was going to say that I actually meant to mention this in the podcast that you said it did good. I think the white will make it. Those pictures were always dark, so it'll make them better at night. The font was a little off to me, but once I saw a little picture. Once I saw a picture of the whole entire thing, it looked a little better.
Right.
So.
I definitely think it needed to be cleaned up. I think she did a great job, and it was a great area to clean up. I did notice, too, that when you walk underneath the office, there's a sign there that's really faded really bad from the sun and stuff like that. Hopefully that'll get replaced soon, too. But, I just wanted to point out that there's a new victory lane at the racetrack, and it looks beautiful.
Yeah. All right, cool. I'm glad it worked out.
All right, so guys, that wraps up episode 193, or was it 194, Josh?
194.
Family Fun Night coming up.
Family Fun Night coming up with Demolition Derby. Demolition Derby always brings new fans in there.
Yeah, four-cylinder and 8-cylinder demo derbies. 2 demo derbies.
Yeah. All right, guys, so that wraps up episode. Yeah, no factory sucks, no modified.
Where are you going to be, Scott? You racing?
Camping.
We're keeping an eye on the weather. We are thinking about going to New Hampshire on Saturday to watch the Xfinity race and the modified tour cars. And I'm thinking about bringing my Enduro cars up there and racing at Hudson on Sunday.
Ooh, okay. That could be fun.
But they're not having the Pro V8 race that I normally race at Hudson, but they are having the Spitfire ladies division for Nancy. So I'm thinking about putting Hoosiers on my Enduro car and racing with their street stocks there.
As long as you don't flip over, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I could win with them, but I think I can stay with them. Everything on my car is good, except my car's a little heavier than what they are up there. But if I'm going there, I might as well bring my car and race if we're going there with Nancy. But there is a chance of rain, and we are keeping an eye on the weather before we go all the way up there.
Okay. All right.
All right, guys, that wraps up episode of the RPM 194 of the RPM podcast, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week. Go to wall.
Go to wall.
Good night, everybody.